At the end of the commercial?
Yeah, at the end of the commercial, like right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's
That's
just
great.
fuck it. We'll
Just
do
like
it live. We're
Yeah.
live.
Just like that.
Just like
Fuck
that.
it.
That's how
We'll
we do it.
live. Yeah.
Hey!
Hey, everybody.
How y'all doing? Look at these handsome motherfuckers. And we're already demonetized on YouTube. Look at that.
We're not monetized there yet anyway.
That's
Although
true.
if you guys want to go subscribe to our YouTube channel and tell other people to do it, because we need more subscribers to get monetized over there.
Yup.
Something I've been trying to explain to somebody else was how much easier it is to get monetized on Twitch than YouTube.
It is. Welcome to the first episode of what we're calling Identico After Dark.
Yes.
I hope you guys enjoy this. It's gonna be fun. Tonight, we've already lost Joe.
Well, you said Identical After Dark, and I was like, yeah, we called it that because we can't call it the Identical we yell about dumb shit and be nerds for an hour show. That doesn't flow off the
I
tongue.
think we probably really could call it that, and people would still show up.
It's good. It's entirely possible.
It is.
Oh my god. All right, so yeah, this is our version of hot tub streams without the hot tub, I guess, and because COVID requirements, we're in different buildings. I'm Mallo. I'm in the middle refereeing this fight tonight. That's Alex. Oh wait, no, I gotta point the other way because I'm swapped. That's Alex.
I'm somewhere.
Yeah, that's Joe. He's right there. We're all in the middle. We're somewhere in America.
We're all like somewhere, man.
The sad thing is we're all within about a 5-mile radius from each other.
Yeah.
Like, we're not far away.
We used to do this show right behind me in the studio, so...
And hopefully we will be able to do in-person games. That's something that I'm working on, is a studio.
A bigger studio that isn't my house.
Studio.
Yeah. That was something I was going to bring up in the last episode that I never got around to doing, was that when we originally envisioned this stuff, we were talking about building like one of those trapezoidal tables so we could all get around it.
Yep.
Don't worry, that plan is still happening. We're just having to relocate a little bit. We got this. Don't worry.
We're going to do it in a big room.
Yeah.
I've got it set aside.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
We got this.
You'll be able to see all your favorite identical people there.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Eventually, we will have the sponsors of this particular show and many of our shows on the right and left of me, I think, was where I'll put them in here. But, that's fun stuff for those people who know. Wink. The rest of you, it's coming soon.
Speaking of sponsors, I think we've given up on Beecher's Tillamook.
Okay, right? I'm good with that. I'm fucking good with that.
Factory, you have my favorite ice cream. It's the Marionberry Pie. # not an ad.
But can be if they would like it.
But they can be. I will shill for you so much.
Yeah. I'm just happy with whoever gives me delicious cheeses. I don't care who it is.
I'm also okay with that.
And there's so many other dairy products that they have, though.
Yeah.
Such good ice cream.
It's gonna be it's interesting too. By the way, the tangent counter is still available in chat tonight, which is gonna be kind of funny because this is a tangent show essentially. But I do want to say that we have legitimately been reaching out to certain companies because there's some smaller companies out there like ourselves who we'd like to partner with. And we were going to throw up logos. We want to just swap and stuff like that. So if you happen to be one of those smaller companies that are out there looking at this, hit us up because we got branding on lock.
Indeed.
So, all right. So what are we talking about tonight? As the title says, we're talking about Star Wars. Back in the day, I had a little podcast called Super Magical Podcast where these two nerds damn near came to blows over the studio table over Star Wars.
In that studio behind you.
In the studio behind me. It's still standing, thankfully. Tonight, we revisit that discussion with the release of Star Wars Visions, the anime-inspired short series on Disney Plus. As well as we got information and news today about the Boba Fett show coming out. as well as Bad Batch has been running, as well as Mandalorian season 3 is coming up. Or is it season 2? Season 3. Season 3 coming up. As well as it's called Andor. Andor, yeah, is wrapped recently too. So there's a lot of Star Wars stuff that's been going on lately.
And we have to have our Ahsoka yelling fest.
All right, should we get that out of the way now, or just wait till later?
We do that after the break.
Okay.
Let's do that one after the break. We'll use that as the teaser for people to come back.
I feel like Joe has notes.
Thoughts?
And no, he's been long since had thoughts.
Oh no, I definitely have notes. They're sitting right here next to me. Mostly about Ahsoka. But.
Okay. This is fantastic. All right. I want to start first then. I'm going to start first then to get the salt going right here. Let's talk about Star Wars Visions. Much like a Netflix series called Love, Death, and Robots, right? I think I got it. Love, Death, and Robots. Short, like tops 15-minute episodes, all done in different.
This one's 23.
Okay, so the best number in the world, 23. So, but they're short vignettes on purpose, right? These are not. There's no set time. There's no set format, anything like that. They've got different anime styles. I can't legitimately show anything on here, otherwise we get DMCA, but if you've seen it, you've seen it. I just kind of want to open it up with I haven't seen the entire series. I've seen a lot of it though. I have seen a lot of it, okay?
I finished it today.
I'm proud of myself for what I've watched so far. Patting myself on the back.
I did my homework.
You did.
And did the first 3 episodes. So my comments will be related entirely to the first 3 episodes.
Okay, that's all you could make it through was the first 3 episodes? That's because you did promise to Alex. Okay. All right.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna let Alex open it up with the nice part of the conversation. And
no. I think the people came here for salt. I think we give.
You want them
salt.
to give their pound of flesh? Okay.
Yes,
I insist that you go first because the longer I don't have to talk about it, the better.
Hang on. Okay. So overall, it was fine. Okay. And anybody who knows me knows that my general feeling about Star Wars since the Disney acquisition is it's fine. There's some very high points, right? Like Rogue One, The Mandalorian. And there's some very low points, Solo. Okay? Except for Donald Glover. He was amazing. Okay? This was fine. It did exactly what they wanted it to do. They said, hey, there was a lot of Japanese inspiration in the original Star Wars. Let's go to some anime companies and let them show what their vision of Star Wars is. And that's exactly what happened. As far as the writing, the first episode was fine. It was very basic. It was, oh, cool, there's an evil Jedi. And, oh, you think this is a good Jedi? Oh, actually, he's evil too, but he's going to kill the other evil one. And that's fine. Hashtag spoilers. Right? I really enjoyed episode 2.
Should have said that first.
I enjoyed episode 2. Without giving too much away, it's about literally like a pop punk band in the Star Wars universe. And I love when you play with new concepts.
But that's very on brand for you too. Is pop punk and punk in the Star Wars universe. That's like the two things you're about.
I love it. It seemed like a gaming group to me. Like I could see a gaming group go, okay, here's our idea, and making the 4 primary characters in that little band. Okay, I was like, yeah, okay, this makes sense. The third one I think is probably my least favorite of the first 3, and I was like, like it was fine. Again, the animation was great, the style was fun, but it was very like meh. So that was my feeling on episode 3. It was very meh. I will say of the whole series, I think my favorite one is episodes 5 and 8. Those 2 are really good, in my opinion. Oh, the other comment I'll make, if you go look at the cast list, they got some big name people into here. Like, they had David Harbour, they got Neil Patrick Harris. Like, they had some good people for the English voice cast. I thought it was fine. So, with that, I guess that's kind of my overall thing. It's like, it was fine. Now, go ahead, Joe.
People think the people in my friend group think I was being facetious when I said that after watching, we sat down and we watched all 3 of them. I took a brief break between 2 and 3, but we pretty much watched them back to back. People think I'm being facetious, but I am not. That after I got done with the 3rd one, I actually legitimately just stood up from the couch and laid down on the floor in my living room because my brain was not working correctly post watching that. And it wasn't, contrary to what the chat probably believes, it was not because I was raging about it. It's because it was so stupid from the beginning to the end that I could not, like, my brain cells were dying by the billions.
Okay, explain to me why it was stupid. Here's the thing. I could get behind if you're like I didn't particularly enjoy it. What was stupid about it?
I was mostly just sad that some of these things happened.
Again.
So let me do it similar to what you just did. Okay. The first one was probably my favorite of the 3, and favorite's a very strong word, but it was probably my favorite of the 3. The second one was, I don't know what the correct word to use. It was something. The third one was a goddamn shit show from the beginning to the end and should never have been put on paper. And honestly, I think pretty much in the writing process, they were just smoking all kinds of something illicit while they were making that show. And Lance has commented in the chat. Lance is a very weeby kind of guy. He likes anime. Most nights when I go see him, he's watching anime in his room. And even he thought they were stupid. So, let's start with the first episode. Okay.
The first.
The samurai one with the kind of like, I'm not sure what the art style is, but it kind of looks like graphic, or graphite art kind of style.
Yeah.
Kind of a poster board, I guess. I don't know. I was not...
Chat says manga.
Chat says manga, okay.
Oh, yeah.
The premise behind it, I was okay with at the start, because we all know, anybody who's paid attention to the Star Wars stuff, that Lucas drew a lot of inspiration from the Kurosawa samurai films.
Which is what it looked like.
And I was okay with that, because they're like, okay, so Star Wars is space samurai, and now they're taking space samurai and making them regular samurai. Which I was okay with. Like, that made sense to me on an artistic brainwave kind of way. Where it lost me was the lightsaber umbrella.
I knew that was coming from a mile away.
Lightsaber umbrella I know full well that Star Wars has its like hand wavy, bullshit. I mean, there's space magic. I get it. But typically, whenever they designed the original films, there was a thought process behind, like, why does something look the way it does? Why does something behave the way it does? Yeah. Sometimes that gets a little hand wavy still, because 12 run the Kessel run on 12 parsecs. Like, sometimes it gets a little dumb. But lightsaber umbrella. It doesn't make sense, even in the hand-wavy bullshit that happens in Star Wars. It made no goddamn sense. And, like, literally, the only reason that exists is because someone somewhere in an animation studio said, I think that looks cool, and then did it.
Yeah.
That is not an okay way to create something.
But I'm sorry, that's every anime. Literally. Every
I know, that's why
that I've ever seen.
I'll come back to that in the third one.
Okay. Every anime in the world, okay, that comes out, because these all came out of Japanese animation studios.
Yeah.
That was the whole idea. Is we're just going to hand them the keys of the kingdom and say, you show us what you want to see.
Yeah. And, like, I'll come back to this. I have more on this whole cool factor bullshit for the third episode.
I'm not even worried about the cool factor bullshit. I guess my question is why does it have to make sense? For these, I'm not talking about Star Wars in general right now. Specifically when I'm watching these and when I'm looking at these. Because there is no continuity, it's an artistic expression of Star Wars and like a fan film. For all intents and purposes, it's a really well-made fan film. Why does it have to make sense?
Because you're still setting...
Why can't we just have rule of cool?
You're still setting it in the Star Wars universe. And I know you're going to be like, well, that doesn't matter. But it does, because you're framing it inside the Star Wars, under the Star Wars banner. You're framing it in that, so it should at least, even if it's non-canon, it should make a little bit of sense. Because, like, if it doesn't, like, if you're saying that anything goes, then why didn't they just make a Star Wars and then have the Enterprise show up and they just fight because anime, that's cool.
Well, there's IP issues there.
Well, yes, but you get what I'm saying.
I do, and here's the thing. Do you know how many fan films I saw where it was, let's put, and back in the early days of the internet, of let's put the Death Star against the Enterprise, right? Not because it makes any goddamn sense or there's any way to have that argument in a realistic way. It's just like, this is fun. So, I understand your point about the Force umbrella. Okay.
The lightsaber umbrella.
The lightsaber umbrella. Sorry.
The rest, most of the rest of that episode was fine. It was fairly Star Warsy in like scope.
So for now, I will concede to you the lightsaber umbrella was silly.
The only other thing that I really kind of facepalmed about on that one, I just generally didn't particularly care for the animation style. I thought that it was a little too distracting with like how it just worked. Like I caught myself looking at little artifacts on the screen rather than what was going on more than anything.
Okay.
But the only other thing I thought was stupid was when he did the kendo style draw with his lightsaber activated. I was like, okay, like that doesn't make any sense from any of the established lore, but I was okay to overlook it because it was a reimagining of the Kurosawa stuff.
Okay.
I was fine with that. But that one was okay. So now we go on to episode 2.
No, hold on. So
Sean, it's Sean's turn. Sean gets to do episode 1.
Well, so here's the thing that I both loved and was confused about with the first one was they never set up why the person was attacking the village, which moment in time, that's fine. The Force stuff and chat's over here like lightsaber no work on wood and stuff like that. But here's the thing, and I say this as a writer of an entirely new imagining of cyberpunk where there are mutants and all sorts of other things, right? Like you establish a set of rules within that world that you need the viewers and the readers to believe in. And if you go and take a right-hand turn and the viewers, much to what Joe is saying, are going to be like, the fuck is going on over there, right? And so it's a little bit of that kind of thing for me when it was the Sith versus the Sith thing, because like
Sith fighting Sith is not abnormal.
No, but it was the like Lone Ranger sort of version of that and stuff, which the thing that I do like about that was maybe that means just lightsabers can be any fucking color because it's a crystal.
That's why it used to be.
I'm just saying it could be anything. That's cool. And that's fine because I think that's great. And he had like 15 he had more crystals than General Grievous had lightsabers. So he's hunting some motherfuckers. That's cool.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I like that it established, assuming they were both Sith, I like the fact that it established that there was no more rule of 2. Because I felt that was a plot mechanic just for the original trilogy series. And they brought it back for the prequels to like maybe be about it, but like honestly the best thing about like Force Awakens and SWTOR and all like that is that everybody can walk around with a goddamn laser sword if they want to. That part is cool, right?
It's the original canon.
Fair enough, yes. And so that is the part that I really liked about it. I thought that the fighting and the animation style and everything like that was like really, really like smooth to me. Mm-hmm. I get that some people may not like that art style. I prefer it. I like it. I think it does give that Kurosawa look and feel to it, especially in the like faded black and white and stuff like that. But I was also trying to be like, is that supposed to be R2D2? Because they kept reusing his voice. And so
it's all astromech speak binary, and that's
they all speak binary, but they all don't sound exactly the same. And I know this because I happen to know some of the people that originally made the R2D2's voice, and there was a very specific way they made it, and they remade it for the original sequel trilogies versus what the other ones talked to. So that part threw me for a loop. But otherwise, that's episode 1 for me.
One thing I did get a little bit of a chuckle out of, and now that we've kind of broached the subject a little bit, is in the new lore, the color of lightsaber is dependent on their force status, for lack of a better term. In the new canon, the lightsabers turn red because they've been infused with the dark side and bleed.
Yeah.
Okay, but in that logic, by the way, though, then we all are agreed that Mace Windu has a legendary, right? He pulled purple from the loot box.
Yeah.
So,
okay, cool.
Just checking. Given that lore, and I had a little bit of chuckle. Given that lore, when the samurai takes the crystal of the just newly defeated Sith and gives it to the kid, I'm like, you just created a new Sith Lord. You just corrupted that kid. He's now carrying around a gem that's imbued with the dark side of the Force, which has been shown multiple times to be able to corrupt.
Canon, they can re-bleed it out.
I would actually appreciate it if it was, because color, right, like it should be irrelevant at that point, right?
And actually, what's ironic is if you'd gotten to episode 5, they actually touch on that very specifically. Like they use that concept of the blades changing color. In episode 5.
Yeah, I've seen that it actually just changes color in that episode.
That's an artistic kind of thing, but yes.
Yeah. That makes me less likely to watch episode 5 because that mechanic is a stupid fucking mechanic.
So here's...
So hold on. What the fuck? I was gonna say something here earlier. I lost the joke. Oh yeah, no, the joke was that's why Qui-Gon died to Darth Maul. Because he only had like a common or an uncommon. Yeah. Obi-Wan had a rare, and Mace Windu has a legendary. That's what it is.
That's you know what, I'm perfectly fine with that explanation.
Yeah.
Sorry, what is it?
So, do you want to move on to episode 2, or we got more?
No, I want to just touch on this in the chat right here, right now. Because why didn't we get Jar Jar episode? I don't know. It's a goddamn conspiracy because we all fucking know that Jar Jar Binks is a goddamn Sith Lord.
So here's what you need to do, Pete. You need to start like one of those like change.org petitions. And what you do is you get enough signatures to where Lucasfilm will pay attention and let me and Mallo be in charge of green lighting everything.
Fuck it, Bunny Boy wanted an anime studio in ACS. We got fucking writers on this staff. Let's just make it to fucking happen.
Yeah.
6-second podcast. I want to hear about the Jar Jar theory. That's going to be a running gag now.
Oh, the Dark Jar Jar theory's been around for a while.
But there's a long running joke, especially between Pete, Joe, and I. That's just Misa gonna avenge you, Annie. And I think Joe just died a little inside when I said that.
Go ahead and go on to episode 2 since you're full of...
Episode 2. Episode 2 is the beginning of a slide into madness.
My God.
Let's start off with, surprise, surprise, I'm sure everyone's just totally shocked by this at this point. I didn't like the animation style. I don't know what that's called. I called it the chibi style because it looked more like chibi stuff.
Yeah.
That's a little chibi.
I don't like that animation style. I didn't like it when they did it as kids shows in American animation back in mid-90s-ish.
But I mean, they still do that in
Yeah.
certain types of anime from Japan. So
I'm a little salty they made a chibi Boba Fett, but I was okay with it because that's not the first chibi Boba Fett I've ever seen.
Not. They also got Tamora Morrison to do the voice,
which was cool. But I'm fine with. I'm not saying it was necessarily a bad storyline. I just didn't care for it. like I understand your whole point of trying new territory. Like, and it was very new territory for Star Wars because realistically, the only time we've really ever seen a whole lot of musical stuff in Star Wars is when they did the remastered versions of the original. And they put in that weird Cantina band scene that everyone hated.
Oh, the one where it had somebody actually singing that time?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that was the Cantina. It was Jabba's Palace.
Yeah, it was Jabba's Palace
Whatever,
at the
same
end, yeah.
difference.
No,
Same
they
difference.
didn't change that. God, if we can go back to that damn special editions argument.
But that it was the first time we really saw music in Star Wars. I'm a little kind of from just a pure logical standpoint. I'm kind of a little sad they didn't try to make the music sound more Star Warsy, because you're talking like it's a galaxy far, far away that spans multiple species, but all they have is drums and guitars.
So that was the only thing that threw me off. Was I did not think Joseph Gordon-Levitt did a very good job singing in that episode. So Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays the main character, and I actually normally love him as an actor. I didn't think he did a great job singing. The one thing that threw me was when he was singing, I was like, "Oh, this just doesn't sound great."
Oh,
Like,
the song
terrible.
was cringy as shit.
But I love the concept, right? Like I was like, first off, I liked the characters they used. Again, not talking about the animation style, just the concept of the characters. Okay.
Hated all of it.
Okay. Like I liked the three-headed drummer guy. I liked the droid. I liked the kid. I liked the big slug guy who was the bass player. I was like, that's.
No, Earthbound, I did not like any of this, so expect only negative comments from me this whole time.
It just, I thought it was fun. We got a nice little Jabba thing. I thought that having them do the thing at the Bunta Eve arena was a neat throwback, right? That was fun. I
ended up yelling at the TV for part of it.
Why? See, here's the thing.
Because
I understand, like this does not raise to level of yell at the TV for me.
it does, because I'm aware the Star Wars hand waves a lot of things. I'm gonna have to state that a whole bunch of times, but just so the chat knows preemptively, I am 100% aware Star Wars hand waves a lot of things. That's fine. My problem was when they completely hand wave like 3/4 of the plot in that movie or that show. Like kid who I presume is some kind of like Jedi Padawan escapee that managed to avoid Order 66. Falls in there, and just no one notices that his lightsaber is actually a lightsaber. They think it's a microphone, when they should know what a lightsaber is at that point.
You'd be surprised how dumb people are.
But at any rate, it goes on, and like the whole making a band thing is not the problem. The whole the problem I had with the episode is the same thing that I have, and it's not necessarily just anime, but anime seems to do it a lot. Is that they accomplish everything through the power of friendship.
Yeah.
Like, dude, Boba Fett shows up and takes the slug guy away. So he literally does the thing where he's like, oh, emotional speech while staring out onto a vast landscape. And then God rays appear. And all of a sudden, the band is re-energized and we're going to go help them out. So they show up. They do their, they show up and they find out where he's at. But at no point, at anywhere, do the guards interfere with them doing what they're doing. Like, presumably, the slug dude, which is Jabba's son or something, I don't know what his character relationship was.
They weren't clear on that.
But he's presumably going to be executed. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, yeah, sure, go hang out with him. It's fine. No one cares. And then they go up to the top and they sing their song. And he was on the execution block. Why are the guards just letting him get away with all this stuff without like any kind of like, they didn't even do a token. Hey, no, you can't go in there. They're just like, hey, whatever. And then they just go in there. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And they win the day through the power of music.
So basically what I'm hearing from you on this episode is you can't enjoy nice things just because it's a nice story.
I don't like overly sappy things. Because the universe is not like that.
That's why we have it in entertainment.
Well, that's fine. I don't have to like it.
That. No, you don't.
So anyway, Mallo, do you have anything to add for episode 2?
I am loving the idea that they did that through the power of friendship.
They did?
No, they did not. That was a business transaction. That hut saw money. They just got signed. And now they are going to be working a lot. A lot. That is capitalism in the hut society. They're not free. They didn't win the day. They got indentured servitude to go play the same songs. It's like working for Capitol Records back in the day, except you got a big slug for a hut instead of a slug for whatever guy that was working for Capitol Records back in the day.
Pete's in the chat saying standard record exec.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like a 1950s record exec taking advantage of Harlem fucking singers. Like, that's what it was.
100%. That is the Beatles' first record contract right there. They're gonna get like 2 cents per play, maybe. In like 10 years.
It's a Spotify contract.
Oh god, then it's like 0.002% then.
Right.
Yeah. So
okay.
that's what that one was. The rest of it, the art style, everything like that, I think was actually kind of fun. I would actually like to see the rest of that go and see how they get away from the hut, because it's a corrupt like record contract. Because again, I think it could be like a fun RPG. Like Angel City Stories crew could have come up with that, and it would be funny, and people would call tangent on us, but fuck it, you know.
It very much seemed like an RPG story to me. All right, let's move on to episode 3. This is, of the first 3, the one that I did love.
Bad.
Episode 3. Holy shit!
I get to go first on the salt meter on that one.
Okay, go ahead.
That episode made no fucking sense whatsoever. And that was when I was like, what the fuck are we watching here? That whole episode made absolutely no sense. Top to bottom. Beautifully executed. The writing, nothing. Missed me completely. Amazing fight animation, terrible story. Absolutely. Yeah. And then it's like, it's the thing that drives me nuts, and I know that the ACS cast every once in a while goes, wait, you had this thing over here, but then now we're over here. Because it's like, you spent the time to put 2 Star Destroyers together. And the day that, by the way, why the fuck are we always making planet-destroying weaponry? That hasn't worked for years. Come up with a new plan, please. But you take all this time to put 2 Star Destroyers together, like they're tied at the fucking altar, right? They're married Star Destroyers, piloted by twins, and then one twin's like, deuces, I'm out. At the last second, like, you couldn't have gotten a Force Vision like 4 weeks ago when the contractors were still here installing the carpet. Like, what the fuck?
So,
hang on, because mine's gonna be short. Because I generally agree with you.
You echoed a lot of what my problem with it was, but I want to dive into some more finite detail, because I disagree that the animation style was good. Mostly, topically, it made no fucking sense. Dark Side twins, born of the dark side, but one apparently suddenly decided to be just like full light side because reasons, and decides to stop doing things.
So that wasn't the part that bothered me, actually.
Then they go out, they start fighting, and they go out into space, and they're literally fighting, like one of them's just wearing a Han Solo outfit in space and not dying. Like, it made sense that the chick was surviving because she had a suit and everything. Maybe it has this stuff. But, like, I disagree that the animation style was good, because and I had to rewind it a few times to look at things. About 3/4 of that was not even an actual set piece. It was literally just they cut out paper mache and they just moved it like every now and then. Like, it was just like rectangles on the screen. There was like no depth, no dimension.
So it's South Park.
Yeah, I mean, it sucked. It was visually bad. It was literally like, I have a new, for those of you who are familiar with me, One of the animes I hate the most is Dragon Ball Z because I refer to it as the dollar store anime. Where the animation is so cheap and reused that they're literally trying to save a nickel. This is the new definition. That dollar store anime at Dragon Ball Z just got bumped up to Walmart. And now this is the dollar store anime. This was horrible animation style. And it was visually confusing. There was shit flying all over the screen everywhere. Need I say goddamn lightsaber tentacles? Because it's anime. Why not have some kind of fucking tentacles in there? And the thing that Lance actually ended up almost crying. Like, I had to pause the movie because he was laughing so hard he was crying and almost passed out. Lightsaber heels. Did anyone else see that? The dude.
Yeah,
Chat's been talking about
Chat
it.
loves the idea of the lightsaber heels. I'm just saying.
What the fuck? She's gonna go to the bathroom one day and accidentally activate and slice the plumbing out of the fucking Star Destroyer. Like, what the fuck is the point of a lightsaber heel? Like, and I thought it couldn't get any more stupid than with the lightsaber tentacles. And then they pull out that heel. And then the part that aggravated me the most, that I just like, this is the factor of cool that goes to the point where it makes no goddamn sense and circles back around from cool to cringe. The fucking dude surfboard rides his X-Wing, somehow magically makes his lightsaber like a fucking mile long, and slices all the way through the Star Destroyer until he gets to his sister, and then it just magically just kills the crystal and pops out her tits a little bit. Like, that's all it does. Like, he slices this fucking Star Destroyer in half, and then it just... That's it.
It's called precision.
Garbage.
It's a called shot.
Okay. I generally, again, I thought the animation was fine. I saw what they were going for. It's not my favorite style of anime, but I just, the story didn't do anything for me either. I was like, okay. The part about him turning the light side, all of a sudden, like, I understood that. I was like, okay, that actually makes sense. But yeah, it just didn't do anything for me. Like, I actually, of all of the episodes, going all the way through episode 9, it is the weakest. Is number 3.
I remember something about 3. It committed the cardinal sin that one of the things that I hate the most about any anime within the first like minute or 2 of the show, when you have a side character that goes on like a 5-minute exposition of shit that everyone else already fucking knows. And he just talks about it as if this person's like, yeah, like he's like, your sister and your brother built this so we could do blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I fucking know. I built it, you stupid shit. Why are you telling me this? Like, animes do that a lot, and they just like exposition for no reason.
Films, television, they're just not.
My hatred of that is not just limited to anime. It's just anime seems to do it more than anything else.
I just want to say, a certain cast asked me if I was going to monologue the evil one of the BBEGs in our cast. I'm just saying, y'all asked for the monologue, and I was like, no. So, there you go. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. There's just not much more to say on 3.
Well, that's where my experience ended, so the rest of this is you guys' house.
I didn't watch Fast 3.
The next one is fine. It's, again, the anime style is pretty typical. The story's kind of fun. This is where it starts to get a smidge repetitive, because it's like, oh, look, big bad evil guy. Okay, lightsaber fight. The end. Didn't like that. Number 5, I think, is probably the second best one. And that one's a lot of fun. And you could stick that one in canon because it supposedly takes place like hundreds of years later after the Jedi have disappeared. Fight for the Kyber Crystal Part 5, yeah. That Pete's talking about in chat. I actually thought, like, again, conceptually, like, what is the story? Everything about it. The animation style was good. It was just a lot of fun. There was a really good, like, I think 8-person lightsaber fight in there. That was a lot of fun. Thought it was good. Number 6, I'm sure would annoy the shit out of Joe. It's a very, again, very almost chibi style.
It looks
anime.
chibi style. What's the character that has like the red pants and like the overall? It's very chibi style. Chad, help me out here. What's that one?
I don't know. I'm looking it up.
Red pants with overall is chibi style. You mean Mario?
No.
It has almost a chibi style to it. It's about a cybernetic. It's like a cross of Pinocchio with Star Wars.
He's a real boy.
He's a real boy. 7 is, again, they're going back to that very Kurosawa style in episode 7. 8, I think, is the strongest.
Okay.
And that one's really solid.
That one has the most Akira Ghost in the Shell look and feel to it as well.
Number 8?
Number 8 does, yes.
Yeah. 8, it does. And I think that the story about it, like what they're trying to explain there, is cool. It's just a fun episode. 9 has a very Ninja Scroll feel to me, and it ends in a really crappy way.
What's the point of number 8? Because that's the one that, like, I feel like everybody's kind of like getting up for. I mean, 5 is the lightsaber color change thing aside, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Astro Boy. That's the one you're thinking of. Thank you, Tip. Astro Boy is
the
okay. Very.
Yeah.
Yep. Astro Boy is the one you're thinking of, Tip. So number 8 is about this family on some planet, right, in the Star Wars universe, and this little alien creature girl, she's a slave to the Empire, and she falls out of a thing, and she's found by the daughter of one of the nobles from this world, and the daughter's like, we're going to adopt you. And so the little furry monster person is like, okay, and they become sisters and they grow up together. And then the Empire shows up, and the dad's like, fuck the Empire. And then it's actually his blood daughter is the one that's like, no, the Empire will help us. And her dad's like, no, Empire's bad. And so he gives the magic lightsaber to the furry alien person who's her adopted sister, and they fight. I mean, it's a very like family centric, and what is more important, blood or loyalty, and
adopted blood.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that fits the Greek tragedy style of Star Wars to some extent.
Yeah, and so I thought 8 was the strongest episode of the whole series. None of them were terrible, except for maybe 3. 3 wasn't great. The rest of them were fine. I kind of going back to what we talked at the beginning. Like, a lot of what Disney has done with Star Wars is very like, meh, it's fine. It's not great. It's not bad. It just is. It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
A/B test. I agree with chat. Vision seems like A/B testing for what people want in the future. That's very possible. They've shifted animation styles every step of the way. So Clone Wars was one style, Rebels was a different one. Bad Batch is kind of like a cross between the Clone Wars style and the Rebel style of animation. By the way, Chad, if you haven't watched Bad Batch, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, get all your Star Wars in PlayStation 2 graphical level.
It streams in 4K, dude.
Well, then how'd they manage to make it look so bad? Because I don't know.
God damn it.
I highly recommend Bad Batch. I think it's a really fun story. I can't actually speak. I think that they're doing a good job with some of these ones. The only one they've really whiffed on was Resistance. I keep forgetting that they actually had that show. That was really bad.
The first Clone Wars animation, though, the Samurai Jack style wasn't crazy popular either.
No, and that's why they got rid of it when they actually did the full series. They went to that other weird animation style they did for the rest of Clone Wars. That was the very blocky computer animation.
Though I did see a reference for Rebels today that cracked me up.
What's that?
That they have, and I quote, goddamn noodle sabers.
Yeah. I have always hated that part of Rebels, and I've also hated the thin lightsaber thing that they were doing. So the funny thing is,
the thin was supposed to be a design throwback to, if you look at episode 4, the way that Obi-Wan and Darth's lightsabers looked in episode 4, the original, where they were like hyper thin.
Yeah.
And so that was the whole idea, was to go to that episode 4 style of super thin lightsaber in Rebels. God damn it, Tip. I gotta buy you Disney Plus. I keep actually looking. I actually looked for a gift card thingy for you, Tip, and I couldn't find one because they don't sell one on the freaking internet.
They gotta have it somewhere. They gotta have it somewhere.
Yeah. I looked a while ago and they didn't have it. Bad Batch is good. Mandalorian's good. But again, a lot of the stuff Disney said, it's just like, I don't hate it, but it's fine.
I don't dislike the direction they're taking some of the new shows. Like I've said it about the Marvel things, and I think it'll hold true for Star Wars as well. I like this episodic, more TV show kind of format they're doing with movie production quality, because it lets them tell a much more expansive story.
Yes.
And I think that's where like a lot of movies kind of fall flat and have problems when they have to cut things out to make it a watchable time limit. I think that's where you get a lot of plot holes and just kind of dumb stuff going on. So I liked Mandalorian. It was pretty good. I wasn't happy about everything in it, but it's pretty good. And you know, my man Boba Fett gets to show up and show everyone he's still got the biggest pair around.
Yeah, but the best part was Luke at the end.
It was.
I was waiting for Joe to go the fuck off on that.
I actually like that one.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
All right. I think they kind of did not a good such. They kind of like the Leia the Leia animation thing.
Yeah.
I think they kind of didn't do the greatest job, and there were some actors out there that look basically identically to young Mark Hamill that they could have tapped
like
for it.
Sebastian Stan.
Has
everybody seen that freaking meme? Like, why are we not just casting Sebastian Stan as Luke?
I think they might though, because like they got Mark Hamill to come back, and Mark Hamill did all the movements and stuff. He was actually Luke there.
It was him.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious to see where they're gonna go with the Mandalorian now that Grogu's off somewhere else.
Dying because of Luke.
No, I am believing I'm believing that he's like,
we'll get to that in the second half of the show.
Crazy, he realizes how full of shit Luke is, and is like, you know what? Thanks, Luke. I'm gonna go hang out with my Mando buddy. Deuces. Okay.
We get a fast forward of Grogu just coming back with like a tiny ass lightsaber.
Or I mean, honestly, they could go the other way, and Kylo wipes him out, and the Mandalorian gets a rage.
Well, we already know how Kylo dies.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's not gonna like show up and start just murking First Order people trying to get to Kylo.
It's also true.
Ultimately, I agree with you, Joe, and this is where I think you and I are going to get to our fight about Ahsoka and everything else later, is the episodic stuff that they've done. I agree with you on, in that I actually think that right now, the television that's being produced is superior to the movies.
Yeah, because they actually have a fucking plot to them.
Well, and they have budget now. And if any of you haven't done it, go back and watch if you have Disney Plus, watch the Star Wars Visions series about how they made the Mandalorian and the weird dome thing they built.
It's not to be confused with the Star Wars Visions, the show.
Yeah, not the show, the other thing.
Also, another team that needs to figure out branding.
Let's dive into what that dome is, because it's fucking impressive.
And here's the thing, it changes everything about production because they don't have to go on location. So it can all be done in studio.
For those of you who don't know, in The Mandalorian, when they shot the scenes, they didn't do it in front of a traditional green screen like they normally would. They did it, and they built this. It's not a custom build. I did find that there's a company that makes them. It's basically an 8K wraparound screen a huge television screen or monitor, and they literally used, I think it was Unreal Tournament.
It's Unity.
It's Unity, not Unreal Tournament.
Unity. So whenever you see the Mandalorian somewhere,
now I'm just thinking of Boba Fett coming in and sniping somebody, and you just hear headshot.
Yeah.
Running rampage.
But when you see him react to something on the screen, it looks so real because he's actually seeing what's happening on that screen.
Yeah. Which is better for the actors because they're not reacting to the director going, okay, and now there's going to be this thing.
Yeah. And so like, and one of the technical things I saw was like, it was called rotoscoping when you chop something out. I don't know what the technical term is.
Yeah, it's rotoscoping.
But they were talking about how that always leaves like a little faint edge of the color typically. And since his armor was silver, they'd have to color correct for whatever color they used. And they didn't have to do that because his armor now just reflects whatever scene they put him in.
Yep.
So it just...
So they can get the lighting from it and have it bounce off the armor properly because it's backlit.
And since it's a Unity asset, if Disney's smart, they'll take those files and port them over to a video game so you can have set accurate recreations in a video game.
And so the way they've decided to film The Mandalorian with this kind of stuff, I think the production values are better. I think the TV, just in general, is putting out better product than movies are right now. Even with the MCU stuff, I'm very meh on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but like WandaVision, like you can't do that story in a film. It's just not possible. The nice thing about the episodic stuff is stop trying to... Stream Deck's trying to get me to update right now. I don't know why. I was like, hey, would you like to update your Stream Deck right now? No. So I'll agree with you there. And that's where I think that Rebels and Bad Batch and a lot of this stuff is being done well, is it's filling in a lot of gaps that a lot of people for a lot of years have been like, why? Why did this happen? And so for your Star Wars hardcore fans, you get some of those answers.
Yeah. The technology, by the way, is called Stagecraft, and it was created by Industrial Light and Magic, which is a division of Lucasfilm. Which is a division of Lucasfilm, which created the Pixar computer that we all know and love today, and was created to make the original Star Wars movie. And that is why, as much hate as you want to give George Lucas, he is the godfather of modern filmmaking. Thank you very much.
Because
I'll take my royalty now, George. Thank you.
And like I pointed out in chat just now, I really hope that they take that technology and apply it to home usage, because just imagine waking up in one morning and you're on fucking Mount Everest and it looks real, because 8K is basically functionally
8K
real
is
looking.
very close to real with it, yeah.
Yeah,
you would also give yourself vertigo if you did that, Joe.
Yeah, but it'd be fucking cool as shit. Like you wake up one morning and be in space.
You wake up one morning, you're like, oh, and then you like pass out because you've got vertigo.
You could wake up one morning and troll your wife by having set it to a Weeping Angels background.
Oh my God, no.
We're trying to stay at Star Wars, but boy, is there some big Doctor Who news coming down the pipe. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, not going to watch that either.
I'm gonna let them. I'll see if they come back.
You got more faith in that fucking production than I do. I'm sorry, they lost me about 4 seasons ago.
Confused the hell out of me. Yes.
Yeah. Rude. No.
The nice thing is, again, now they can do this for all of their stuff.
Well,
they can use it for Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett.
I'm interested to see if they used it on Andor, because that's just wrapped recently as well.
Yep.
And that has got, Diego Luna is coming back, obviously is Cassian Andor, and all of the things that are going on with that. I think we still get K2SO as well, right?
Yes.
In the movie, in the show, and stuff like that. So that one's going to be another interesting one, because to me, Rogue One is one of the best Star Wars films of all time. And it didn't have a damn bit of a lightsaber battle, really. And that's fine.
That's part of the reason why I've been liking a lot of these newer shows that have come out, because, I mean, let's be truth be told, even in the movies and the old EU, the Skywalker clan's a little played out. Let's see what the rest of the galaxy's doing.
Yes.
See, that's where I think they did the right thing with The Mandalorian. I think it's where a lot of that. You're absolutely right. It is kind of played out, and let's do the rest of it. I'm really curious where they're going to go with Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested in that particular one as well.
And we got a release date, chat. If you didn't see it, it's December 29th.
Yes.
So we're going to get some New Year's Star Wars.
Which is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out over the new year, because
we know, did they bring Ming-Na Wen back?
Yes.
For that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So,
I love her.
As far as I know, it's still our two main actors, and they've started. Actually, I think they had been filming that simultaneously with Mandalorian. And so, essentially, the good thing about stagecraft, right, is that if you've got enough of the stage, because it's part practical effects, part 8K, right? So the floor is still the floor, right? And it's still sandy, and it does all the things you can do. But the way that you can do this, right, is you can leave a gap between the floor and the 8K monitor so it doesn't get broken. And there's ways to do the practical effects through the whole thing. And I'm interested to see, and this is just me being a producer and a production guy for so long, I'm interested to see what the day rate looks like at stagecraft right now at ILM. Because like, you think that like they just basically like wheel out one set, wheel the next one in, and just like keep doing this sort of thing? Because
they show it in the documentary, so they set it for whatever they're doing for the day, but they said that the turnover is about 8 hours.
Yeah.
Because they've basically got a base stage down, and so like if he's on Tatooine, they literally just bring in a truckload of sand.
Yeah.
Dump it on top of it, and dress the interior, and then go, we're good.
Yeah, but the thing that I'm wondering though is that you've got but that was just when Mandalorian was going. Now you've got Andor. Then you're gonna have some more that are coming up that have been unnamed yet unreleased. I think
they said that they built more after Mandalorian did well. They built more of the stagecraft sets.
Right, but this is just me being a logistics geek of how many does it take to do the production run? Because again, when you work at a big place to cut like Disney, they want a predictable release schedule. Look at all the bullshit they did with Black Widow, and they finally just released it out in the world and said, fuck it, whatever, right? Like they are so stricken to this storyline overarching kind of thing. I'm interested to see how and all that works, you know?
I have to imagine, especially in the days of COVID, that not having to fly to Tunisia or anywhere to film these sets, like not having to do on location shooting nearly as much, where you can literally just send a scout team to take the 8K footage of the area you need and then bring it back, jam that in Unity engine, fill in the gaps, and call it a day. I have to imagine that's got to make it a lot easier on that portion of the production schedule.
I just don't want them to become too reliant on it, because that's how we end up with this over CGI nonsense from Clone Wars, which granted, not Clone Wars, the prequels, but granted, CGI has gotten a lot better since then, but practical effects are important to the Star Wars like ethos, and I really hope they don't drop that. But I will say, I have enough faith after seeing what they did with Marvel and what they've done with the Star Wars stuff so far in the episodic stuff, that I have already promised that I will watch the Ahsoka show when it comes out.
We're going to get to, now that we've got Mandalorian, we'll get to Ahsoka here in a little bit. Because Ahsoka, who, by the way, is more powerful.
I haven't taken my heart pressure medicine yet.
We'll get to there in a second. Sorry, I had to look because chat was making fun of, apparently you were able to like invade Joe's thing a second ago. So, you know, I'm gonna fix that shit. That can't happen. But there's two other, all right, so there's legitimately two other pieces of knowledge I want to do this before we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then we're gonna come back, and then these two motherfuckers are just gonna slug it out over
a real
Ahsoka.
fight.
So there's two main important things, and this is how it gets to become Identico, because this is the corporation shit that we want to talk about. So Hollywood is built on unions, right? There's the Writers Union, there's the SAG-AFTRA Actors Guild, there's the Directors Guild, and then there's the I believe it's called the International
IATSE.
It's IATSE, but it's basically the international. It's what producers and on-set folks and everything like that go for. So hang on.
The one thing let me throw one thing in to help you, just to for our audience, because I don't think they know this. So this is your like grips, your electricians, the guys that like do the really hard work on a set are all in IATSE.
Yeah. This is
the guys who hold the cameras.
Well, no, because then there's a DP's guild too, though. So like the DP and the all the people that work for. So the way the productions work, right? And this is because I've been in the director seat for a number of these things, not just on streaming, but in my day job. If I'm in the director seat, I have a director of photography, and their job is essentially to lead a team to get every shot that we need, and they will counsel you as the director on what looks best. They will work with you and all of the different pieces and parts. So they know their cameras inside and out. They have their favorites. They've got all the technical knowledge, and they've got a team that's supporting them. Then you've got the carpenters, the grips, the lighting crews, all of that stuff. That is part of IATSE. That is a union that supports them, because when I go and I shoot on my day job, I have to be done by a certain time throughout the day. I can petition the group to work 30 minutes past that time, and that's it. I have to shut it down, or I have to start paying a lot of money in overtime. That's how it should be, right? So you plan your day very methodically about how long it takes everybody to load in, set a stage up, get hair, makeup, you name it, done, get everybody on set, shoot for a certain amount of time with takes, with reviews, everything like that. You have to break for lunch at a certain time. It's very regimented how you make films in Hollywood. Whew. Here's the thing. Once you wrap on a day, so say I can go from 9 a.m. to 5, at most I can go to 5:30. The grips, carpenters, and other folks still have to clean up if you're on location. Meaning if I'm shooting at somebody's house, which in Hollywood, people just rent out your house to be able to shoot it. You make a lot of money for a day rate, and I come in with a crew and I basically take over your house and I shoot whatever I need to shoot in the house, and then I have to leave. My crew that we hire through the production company has to then clean up and put everything back together and put everything back where it's at. They might still be there till 7, 8 o'clock at night, because you wrap at 5:30, but it still takes about 2 hours to get things done. Now they get paid, but you're still working till like 8 o'clock at night. That's a 12 to 14 hour day. So one of the things that they are thinking about pushing back on is these times, rightfully so. If you remember back, I think over about a decade ago or so, maybe even a little less, there was a writer strike in Hollywood that basically shut everything down. This will shut even more things down, because these are the people who are doing a lot of grunt work that without them, none of these programs would ever go off, right? They need better healthcare. They need a lot of different things. So IATSE essentially is planning to vote on the strike on Friday.
Yep.
Hollywood's COVID protocols, which is a set of protocols that everybody in Hollywood and in production, SAG, doesn't matter. If you're on set, which I had to be recently for a couple different places, if you're on set, you have to follow these protocols. We call them, there are these people that are on set called COVID cops, and they make sure that all the protocols are being followed, all that kind of stuff. That runs out on Thursday, I believe, if I remember correctly. I think it runs out on Thursday. Yes, it expires on Thursday. The vote's on Friday. So there's like this weird overhang where like the things that IATSE really needs them to be doing, which is like the COVID protocols, the time, everything like that, basically runs out, and then they have to like call for a strike vote. So all of these things could possibly be up in the air. What can you do about that? Well, the best thing that you can do about it is call for more unionization when it comes to Hollywood. Don't support certain companies if they take a strike or a stand against that. And essentially support with your wallet at the moment, and or call if you're in California, New York, and I think Las Vegas. If you're in one of those major states, call your congressman and tell them to start putting pressure to get these things passed, because the people who are doing the grunt work on these amazing shows deserve to be protected, they deserve to be paid, and they deserve to have time off. I cannot tell you enough how much it is when you are working on one of these sets. All these people are freelance. They're hired by the day or by the production. And when that's done, you are not guaranteed work. And that's tough. That is very tough. And so just keep that in mind as you're starting to go through the holiday seasons and things like that. See what you can do. Find ways to support. And as we come up and we find some more ways, we'll let you know. But I just wanted to put that out there for full faith and understanding that, like, this does actually connect to our support your people sort of feelings with Identico. And we'd be remiss without talking about this, having our own, union cards and things like that. And having worked with so many of these wonderful people down there, you cannot do this without a crew, I promise you. So support them, pay them, do what they need to do. Looking at you. You know who you are. Okay. Seize the means, to be honest. There you go. Do it. Yeah, okay, good. Chat's going off on this. Perfect. That's what we need to be looking at.
As much as it will pain us all to lose some of our entertainment in a few months because they'll put out everything they've already got in the can, IATSE needs to strike. I think it's the only way that they're going to get the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Production people to do anything.
Yeah.
They can shut it down just like our government's going to, and they will be way less annoying about it.
Yeah. I mean, essentially what it is they're gonna hold a strike authorization October 1 through 3. They need a new deal for working with the production companies. Basically, it would put them on immediate strike, and yes, we'd lose some entertainment probably in the February to March timeline is probably what it would look like. So, be okay with that at the moment, because we might just have to ride this one out for a bit, because they really do need better working conditions all up, and they need the deal signed. And if those folks in Hollywood don't want to play ball with them, as it is what it is, you got to do it. So, all right, we're gonna take a break. Yep, we're gonna take a break. I only have a normal ACS break screen, unfortunately, but we're gonna take a break. Okay. Go grab refills, and so the real fight now begins.
Come back, everyone.
The real fight begins because it's essentially going to be Alex versus Joe on the Ahsoka.
So
just the Ahsoka.
Let's tease this. Here's my thesis. In the modern context of Star Wars, ranging from the Old Republic to everything now, like Mandalorian and forward, Ahsoka is the primary character that ties everything together, and that character is written in the perfect way to do exactly that.
And I will tell you how all of that's bullshit.
And you'll hear all of that plus more when we return. Welcome back. So I imagine this much. I imagine this like the song in Hamilton, where it's the cabinet battle.
Oh, are we supposed to do this in rap form?
Oh, you don't want that.
Yeah, 3 white boys try to rap on stream. That's not gonna work.
No.
But I want this to be somewhat civil. Not too many shots below the belt, if we can help it, please.
Joe, you're ugly and you smell bad.
God damn it.
I know. It's a burden I carry every day.
So the issue on the table, as we were going into break, Ahsoka is the thread that pulls all of the Star Wars, at least movies, and at least the animated TV shows. I said civil, please. But Ahsoka and that Ahsoka is a more powerful Jedi than Luke Skywalker. Mr. Wood, you have the floor.
Hang on.
I am the law.
I have to gear up for this.
Okay, fine. You're not supposed to push him down first. You're supposed to. Whatever. Mr. Wood, you have the floor to make your argument.
Okay. Ahsoka versus Darth Jar Jar. Someday, Pete. Someday. Okay. So this is something that occurred to me recently. Ahsoka is our surrogate viewer. She is the surrogate for the viewer to the thing. She gets to watch.
Hold on. Can we explain for those people who don't know what Ahsoka is?
So Ahsoka is a Togruta Jedi who exists in the greater canon now of the Star Wars universe. She was first introduced in the Clone Wars cartoon show as the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker just after he was made a Jedi Knight, which happens just at the beginning of the Clone Wars. So she stays with Anakin until just before the events of Revenge of the Sith, when she leaves the Jedi Order voluntarily. She's like, fuck you people, deuces, I'm out. And she leaves. She does run back into Anakin again just before the events of Revenge of the Sith. And then she kind of disappears from the narrative for a little bit. After the rise of the Empire, she becomes an agent for the nascent rebellion and starts helping them out. She kind of helps get the nascent rebellion rolling and doing stuff and this, that, and the other. And she kind of leaves the narrative for a little bit. We're not super clear on exactly where she went. And then obviously the latest, and I guess chronologically latest, that we see Ahsoka is in the episode in the most recent season of The Mandalorian, when Bo-Katan, who has a long history with Ahsoka, sends Din Djarin and Grogu to this planet where she knows Ahsoka is looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn. So that's kind of the broad sweeps of Ahsoka and who she is as a character, like, and how she kind of fits into the whole narrative. My contention, especially more recently, is she is, in a lot of films and television, you'll have basically the character that is the viewer, right? It's almost like the surrogate viewer. They may or may not have a lot of agency in how everything kind of plays out, but they're there to kind of be our surrogate in the world. They're there to see everything. And in a lot of ways, Ahsoka is that for a lot of the major events that occur in Star Wars. She's initially, and I actually think very intentionally, in the early seasons of Clone Wars, written to be very annoying, right? Because she's super young. She is a very young, probably 12 or 13-year-old Padawan learner who's just trying to figure shit out. And she's headstrong and crazy, and that's why Yoda assigns her to Anakin. So she's there for a lot of this, and for a lot of the things that are happening in that universe. And again, as she develops as a character, as she goes on, her motivations become more clear. She begins to really understand the Jedi. And for a lot of people who remember the old EU and things like that. She takes this role of when she leaves the Jedi Order, she straight up stops being a Jedi. And like or dislike the mechanic of it for the new lightsabers, she bleeds out her lightsabers. Her lightsabers become white because she's like, no more blue, no more green, no more goofball. No, I'm not a Jedi anymore. I use lightsabers because I was trained to use them, but I don't consider myself a Jedi because the Order screwed me over. She's one of the people that calls out the Order on its hypocrisy and is able to see its hypocrisy and how it's failing toward the tail end of the Old Republic. She serves a lot of really critical things in that, in tying all of how do we get from Republic to Empire to New Republic. So she ties a lot of that together. So, to my mind, she is one of the most important characters, if not the most important character they've written into the canon outside of the Luke, Han, Leia, etc.
Okay. Mr. Grandpa, your rebuttal.
Oh my god, this is so much bullshit. Man, you could not have made that even more bullshitty possible. Like, I don't have words. Okay.
Bring it.
I'm gonna throw out my definition of what she is, like you did. So what I fuck you, Mallo. With your D's nuts. All right. So much like you say, she's the stand-in for the viewer. Bullshit. And this is a 3-part thing for what she is. Now, I'm not saying like 3-part as in I have 3, synopsises written for this. There's 3 particular facets that make her bullshit. Ahsoka is nothing more than a surrogate Anakin Skywalker. She is the child that Anakin Skywalker never got to be. Because he went into be Broody McBroodfuck. She is the surrogate Anakin Skywalker that we never got a chance to see and that Anakin never got to be. Okay? We'll talk on that in a little bit. This is my dissertation on what she is.
Because that's crap too.
I don't really like this term because it kind of feels vaguely sexist, but I couldn't find anything equivalent to it. But she's what they call a black hole suit. What? She exists because someone thought she would be cool to put in there, and all this, she's so important to the story. They had to make her important to the story because she broke the story so badly that they couldn't do anything but make her important to bring it back around to where it was supposed to be.
Okay.
The third thing is she's meant to be some kind of foil to Anakin in the similar sense to that she's a surrogate Anakin. She's meant to be his foil, and she's his foil in ways that make no sense whatsoever. They only exist because the show writer, or the Filoni, whatever the fuck his title was,
right,
put her in there and kept her in there because she was his pet. That is the only reason she continued to exist. She should have been a bit character. Well, she shouldn't have existed at all, but she should have been a bit character that went away and never came back after like a season or 2. So now, that's what I take on what she is. Do we want to go into more specific details now? What's the format of this?
No, this is a full run.
Let's start with your absolutely crap point that she's a surrogate Anakin. I'm sorry, I couldn't even say it. She's not.
In every way, shape, and form, she is.
First off, absolutely not. Her background is 1,000% different than Anakin's. And furthermore, what do you mean she was supposed to be the character that we were supposed to see at Anakin? No, we weren't supposed to see that character out of Anakin. Anakin was the character we were supposed to see.
No, I didn't say that. Well, maybe I did, but we weren't supposed we were not supposed to see that Anakin because, we all know
that Anakin doesn't exist.
Yeah, we all know that he became Darth Vader, but that she is what Anakin would have been if he hadn't started as a slave, became a Jedi when he did, and then fell to the dark side.
How do you figure?
Because she is literally everything that Anakin was to begin with.
We have no idea how Anakin would have developed had the Jedi Order found him as an infant and taken him from his parents. You cannot.
We do, because we have Ahsoka.
We don't. That is an entirely baseless point, because you're like she's what Anakin would have been. How do we know that? We don't know that. We know that Ahsoka went through the more traditional Jedi path. I was found as a baby.
Like Anakin did not get to.
Right. They brought me to the temple. So that exactly, she's not Anakin.
She's what Anakin would have been if he had gotten the proper training.
One piece of evidence to show that.
You could just look at her.
She
is literally everything Anakin was supposed to. The Anakin, not Anakin as in like plot-wise, but the Anakin that existed in the Star Wars universe. Right. So she was what Anakin was supposed to be.
There's nothing in the writing that shows that.
You don't have to put it in the writing. It's blatantly obvious.
Yeah, well, you have to put it in the writing because the writing is what makes the show.
No.
What do you mean, no?
What do you mean, are you telling me they can't imply things?
Yes, through the writing. And that's not something they implied.
They did.
Through the writing. It is not.
They did. This is what this is going to be, folks. It's just going to be him and I yelling about stuff without any real resolution.
The original idea is we had some fucking pool noodles involved and they were actually outside in the hot tub, but it got cold here in Seattle already, so fuck that.
Yeah, we got past summer.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'm confused though as to what the fuck you're implying with.
I don't.
All right, as playing referee here, I need you to explain a little bit more about what you mean by as what Anakin would have become. Because explain.
So Anakin. Now this you have to suspend a little bit of knowledge about Anakin to some extent. Okay, Anakin. We can always argue that Anakin, as he existed in the movie, was inevitable because he was feeded by the Force, which I still don't really like that statement. It was kind of dumb. But Anakin, if he had not been made a slave, because let's be honest, he started out basically having to be an adult at like age 5 or 6. I don't remember how old his character was at that age, because he was the property of Watto. He never got to be a kid. He never got to have the emotional development that a kid normally has. He was forced into the world, so he started life bitter and angry. Which inevitably words led to the events that made him become Vader. Because the real turning point for Anakin was when he went back to Tatooine, his mom got killed, and he murdered all the people. That was the real turning point. It was not the beginning of the turn, but it was where you finally rounded that corner and got onto the next road and head down the way. That's when he became really dark.
That's when he went through his emo phase?
Yeah, that's where he went through his emo phase.
Okay.
And he actually went emo about it afterwards. He's like, I killed them all, I slaughtered them.
Stop people from dying.
But
this is why George shouldn't write dialogue.
Yeah.
True. I love you, George, but still.
She is what Anakin would have been if he was not put in those circumstances. Now, you can argue that the Force put him in the circumstances because that's what wanted the Force to happen, whatever. Dave Filoni, if I can remember his first name.
That's Filoni.
He created her because he had to have been like, what would Anakin be like if he wasn't, forced into slavery this whole time? Because she has similar characteristics to the Anakin we see in episode 1, basically being an annoying child that just runs around and insults everybody. She has the same kind of naive, everything's good, everything's awesome, everything's great, the Jedi are awesome. In the beginning, I know she lays the Jedi Order in the beginning, or towards the middle to end of the Clone Wars stuff. She basically does... I lost that train of thought. Sorry.
I'm gonna stop you because I see one thing you're doing there, and this is again where I'm gonna disagree. You said that when she first shows up, she's annoying and insults everybody and da-da-da-da-da. Anakin in episode 1 does no such thing. When we are first introduced to Anakin, like, he is literally just like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, hey, there's a storm coming. Why don't you come to my house? Right? If anything, he's the opposite of insult anybody. The only person he gets like lippy with is Sebulba, and that's like right before the race. He's like, better to do, Sebulba, in Huddies. Anakin is the opposite of a headstrong, lippy, like annoying, like he doesn't do that. If anything, his annoying piece is that he's saccharine sweet to everybody because he, like his mother says to Qui-Gon, he doesn't understand want, right? Like he doesn't understand the idea of having or wanting anything because he knows he can't have it. That's just it. Is that when Ahsoka gets to Anakin,
he gets lippy with Watto too. I want to point that out.
He gets a little lippy with Watto.
I mean, wouldn't you though? I mean,
yeah,
come on.
And Jar Jar Binks.
But not
okay. Again,
Obi-Wan.
No, he didn't get lippy with Obi-Wan.
He got lippy with Obi-Wan.
When did he get lippy with Obi-Wan?
Because Obi-Wan called him what was it?
But he doesn't respond to that at all. And Obi-Wan doesn't say that in front of Anakin. He looks at Qui-Gon and he goes, why do I feel like we've picked up another pathetic life form? Right? Because they've already picked up Jar Jar, right? And so he's like, why are we picking up another pathetic life form? And then he's like, and then Qui-Gon introduces him. He doesn't get lippy with Obi-Wan.
He does too. He does in the Starfighter hangar. He gets lippy with him.
He does not.
And intentionally does the opposite of what he was told to do.
By Qui-Gon, not Obi-Wan. And he doesn't do the opposite. And in fact, he is doing the opposite. No, he's doing that.
Qui-Gon told him to stay here, not strap your ass into a fighter pilot. He's
doing that willful obedience thing, which is something I learned very well in the Army, which was, I did what you told me.
It's malicious compliance.
Thank you. Right? This sounds like a Dragon Ball fan theory video that pops up and it'll be on YouTube for 4 hours. I love it. Okay, so she is nothing, and I mean nothing, like Anakin at that point. And in fact, I would say
she's what Anakin would have been.
No, and again, you have no basis of evidence for that.
Well, so
I have evidence for that she fills the same niche role.
No, she doesn't.
Yes, she does.
But is that? Well, hold on. So is that meant to be in like a way of? Because the thing that I'm interested in with Ahsoka is like, is that also meant to be? Because by the time we get Clone Wars, we have seen Episode 2. So all you've heard throughout Episode 2 is how much Anakin is brooding and shit like that, and still wanting to get in Padme. That was the first thing we knew about Anakin, is he wanted Padme like tomorrow. So let's be honest. He was trying to get to Pound Town as quickly as he possibly could. So
he's still on that malicious compliance thing.
A little bit.
Obi-Wan right in the beginning. He's like, you're using her as bait.
Yeah,
I can sense everything. It's fine. I'm here guarding her.
Yeah, but like Obi-Wan was also very like, Obi-Wan was very cocky throughout all of episode. Like, you can see the reason in the Fall of the Jedi through episodes 2 and 3 because they are cocky, you know what's right. But like, is that meant to be a little bit of a mirror put up to Anakin in that part of the series? Because if Anakin was doing that to Obi-Wan, and now Anakin has to deal with the same exact type of characteristics, but now he's in charge of that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that meant to then be a bit of a mirror to go, oh, well, let's see how he handles it?
That was the point that I was going to get to.
That doesn't make her a surrogate.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does, because
I don't think you can be a surrogate if you're both on camera. That's all I'm going to say.
You're also making the fallacy that because she's a surrogate, she has to be the one-to-one opposite of what Anakin wants. And that's not true. Because, like, as far as I know, which granted, I don't know Ahsoka's, like, intricate details that well. As far as I know, there's no one that she wants to go to Pound Town with.
No.
So there are some things that you kind of have to just kind of set aside, because just because she's a surrogate does not mean she's the antithesis.
And I didn't say that that's what you meant. But what I'm saying is that that's not the role that she's supposed to be filling in the story.
It is. Because Anakin, in the first episode, which granted was the only time he was a kid, we didn't get a whole lot of kid Anakin time, Because it pretty much skipped from him being a kid to him being, what, 15, 16, something like that?
No, it goes from 9 to 19.
Yeah, so we didn't get a whole lot of Anakin kid time. But Ahsoka was very much... Anakin was originally meant to be the child foible to the dynamic duo of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. He became their basically baggage through the entire movie until the culmination when he becomes a Jedi, and then he's still technically baggage. But like he was basically carried around like a piece of luggage the entire film.
See, this is again, you're getting off topic, and someone needs to hit the damn tangent counter.
No, this is not off topic.
It absolutely is off topic because the reason Anakin wasn't baggage, right? The thing is that Qui-Gon, right, which they very clearly establish has two primary issues, right? One, he has this nasty tendency of telling the council to go fuck themselves, right?
Which arguably.
Which they establish very early in the film, right? Master, you would be on the council if you would just blah 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 blah. And he's like, right, but I follow the will of the Force. Fuck you, right?
Master, you would be on the council if you would just shut the fuck up.
Right, that's basically what Obi-Wan's saying. The whole damn thing, right? Qui-Gon is taking this kid and not making him baggage, but is going, no, I'm going to take this kid under my wing because Qui-Gon, while I don't think, and again, this is something that Clone Wars does a really good job explaining, which I think they fucked up in the original prequel trilogy, Qui-Gon knows that this prophecy is going to happen, but what Qui-Gon also knows is that prophecy is wonky, and he may not understand exactly how, and he wants to make sure, for damn sure, that if this is going to come play out, it's going to play out the right way. When Qui-Gon dies, that whole program gets shot off to the side, and there is a huge danger. Anakin fulfills the prophecy. He just did it in the way that none of the Jedi thought.
But you're talking about future Anakin. We're talking about child Anakin in the comparison with Ahsoka. Child Anakin all through episode 1 was baggage. The only thing he did of import was fly into the ship and accidentally blow up.
No, the only thing he did of import was ensure that they could get the damn parts they needed to get off of fucking Tatooine.
That is a flimsy thing at best. Like, really? Fucking Jedi, they could have just ganked the part and left.
Yeah, but that's
baggage.
Okay, they don't bank parts and leave. Right? Qui-Gon's not going to go just chop Watto's head off and take the damn part.
You don't have to chop his head off. You just walk in, take it. This is the greater good of the galaxy, and leave. Like, that's the end of story. Like, Anakin was baggage through the entire first movie.
The problem is that you're presuming that thought ever crossed Qui-Gon's mind.
It did, because they literally said, "Can we just get it? Can we just take it?"
No, they never say that.
Yeah, they did.
No, because he asked everyone if they have the money to do it, and they're like, we don't have any money.
But at any rate,
feeling it.
This is definitely tangent territory. But at any rate, Ahsoka fulfills the same role that Anakin did in the first episode. She just does it for like 97 fucking seasons for some reason.
No, because again, she fulfills a much greater role.
Because they had to do it. Okay, we'll get to that in a second.
To Anakin's development, and B, to the development of the Jedi Order, to a lot of the things that happen throughout the series, and don't even get me started on what happens in Rebels, right? Because without her...
I had to put all that shit in there to fix the shit that she broke.
She didn't break anything.
She did, and I have notes on it.
All right, give me some shit she broke.
Literally the
Besides
entire
your heart.
story.
No, you can't just go literally the entire story.
I'm getting back to it.
No.
Literally the entire story, she breaks it. I have a literal checklist of like 10 things
Let's
that she
hear it
fucking
then.
breaks.
No.
The first thing she breaks is the Order 66 shit. In the original established canon, and I'm not talking EU, we're talking like solely movies here. In the original established canon, the only Jedi survivors were Obi-Wan and Yoda.
Where does it ever definitively, both in the old canon and the new canon, say that?
George Lucas said it. But
he did not.
But anyway, she breaks it because apparently during all of this time she's out there running around, which makes no sense because in established lore, Jedi who have familiarity with each other are able to sense where they are at pretty much all times. The reason why... hang on.
Go ahead.
Yoda went into hiding on Dagobah specifically so he was in proximity to that dark side nexus to make himself invisible. In later EU stuff, now we're kind of touching into the original EU stuff. There was
a whole bunch of Jedi that survived the original Purge.
But it was originally stated, it wasn't outright stated, but it was heavily hinted at that Vader knew that Obi-Wan was on Tatooine all along. And that's why they had an Imperial presence on Tatooine, because they never had an Imperial presence before. Like, they're in the previous canon, none of the governments that came before the Empire ever had a presence on Nar Shaddaa.
Oh, wait, hang on. Mallo with the silent hand.
Well, I was gonna let him finish that particular one, but yeah, I'm glad we're getting rid of that part because that's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
So
that Vader knew that Obi-Wan was on Tatooine the whole time and chose not to intervene because of his past relationship and personal conflict with his former master. Presumably, Ahsoka had a relationship with Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and at no point in the original trilogies or any of the stuff that happened 4 decades after that did she ever make any attempt to talk to them.
This is established stuff. Again, old canon, new canon, doesn't matter. Number one,
it doesn't matter.
How did all of the Jedi who survived, the old canon or the new canon, what happened? All of them used the Force to essentially dampen their Force presence, right? Number one, they dampened their Force presence.
They're hiding under a blanket.
Because they did literally.
Bullshit.
No, this is old canon.
Yoda, the most powerful Jedi Master that ever lived.
And that's why he had to go hide on a fucking planet.
If he couldn't dampen if he had to rely on a fucking negative Force hotspot to fucking hide himself.
And look, in the new canon, that's not established that's why he went to Dagobah, right? It might have been in the old canon, not in the new canon. That's not why he went to Dagobah in the new canon, okay? Kanan, now you've got Cal Kestis in the new canon, you've got Ahsoka, you got a few others that managed to survive the Purge. Not many, but a few, right? They dampen their Force powers. They specifically do not reach out into the Force because they do not want to be detected.
So this is going to fall down to a new canon versus old canon debate.
Again, you can argue it either way.
No, this is going to fall. This is going to fall.
Vader and the Emperor were not able to sense every Force user that was wandering around the galaxy at all times.
Vader and the Emperor could not because they didn't have a personal relationship.
Vader never found Obi-Wan. Okay,
because he didn't want to.
No, and maybe that's the case, but it still fucking worked, didn't it? And here's the thing. As far as Vader knew, he had no idea. Again, we're dealing with Ahsoka now. He had no idea what happened to Ahsoka. And as far as Ahsoka was concerned, because the official word in the new canon as to what happened to Anakin Skywalker is he died, right? So as far as Ahsoka's concerned, he's fucking dead. She finds out that he's not dead when she comes into contact with Vader by literally reaching out into the Force to this fucking pilot that's chasing them and going, oh boy, that fucking presence seems familiar. And then Vader goes, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. The apprentice lives. Right? He doesn't say fucking kidding me, but that's what he does.
But it would be much cooler if he did.
And
it would be much cooler if he did. He goes, oh, Ahsoka's alive.
Bullshit.
Gotta go.
Hold on.
Right?
Here's the thing.
Bullshit?
Hold on.
Just because you declare it bullshit is not making bullshit.
If they used the actual canon that existed, she should have known that Vader was Anakin all along because she still would have been able to feel his Force presence.
No,
unless you're trying to tell me that he tried to dampen his own Force presence.
No, because is she looking for it? Because here's the thing. It
doesn't matter if she's looking for it or not.
Yes, it does. Because you can walk into a stadium full of fucking people and say, oh, I know Sean's here somewhere, but until I start looking for him, I may not see him.
You can feel a disturbance in the Force from across the galaxy, but you can't tell that you're
when millions of fucking people die.
No, because there were a lot of times they felt a disturbance without a lot of people dying. The trademark, I have a bad feeling about this.
That has nothing to do with anything.
Yes, it does. It has everything to do with it.
Because Han Solo says I have a bad feeling about this all the time.
Because he's not a Force user doesn't mean he can't have some Force input.
Trademark.
The Force is space magic. It can do whatever the fuck it wants.
It surrounds us. It penetrates us.
That's my point. Why it's not hard to go, okay, Vader didn't realize Ahsoka was there. Ahsoka didn't realize Anakin was still alive, so didn't look for him.
Spider-Man meme.
No, Pete. Han Solo was not
No.
Force sensitive.
No.
Here's
No.
here's the question though. All right.
Okay.
You guys are going back and forth about canons and all this kind of shit. In my mind, and mind you, I'm a writer by trade. This is what I do. In nowhere in the original trilogy did it ever say that they could sense each other anywhere on the galaxy. The only times that they ever sensed each other were when they were near each other.
No.
That's it. That was it.
No. So again, let's talk about this canon thing because we really do have to kind of settle this. Are we? Because right now, what I'm doing is I'm as much as I loved, and Star Wars was my original obsessive fandom. It was my first, right? It was like Star Wars, then Star Trek, then Marvel, right? I still have most of the old EU books because I loved them. They were really they were great. Read all of them.
Yeah, most of them.
But I have discharged them from my mind when viewing current Star Wars because they're just not canon anymore, right?
They're not canon anymore because of shit like Ahsoka breaking everything, and they have to
Ahsoka
rewrite
doesn't
shit
break
to
it.
make it. She
First
does,
off,
though.
she's not the reason they ditched the old canon.
No, she's not, but she was a contributing factor.
She was not a contributing factor in the least bit.
She was.
She was not, okay? Because again, no. Like, we know why they got rid of the old canon. In fact, I was watching a thing with Dave Filoni earlier today about this.
Mallo was just like listening to some kindergarten talking about who gets the next milk.
Okay. So, in the new canon, which is the canon, it's, again, like Mallo said, they've never said that they can sense each other anywhere. They're saying you can sense them from far away if you're looking, and when they're nearby, they tend to ping each other, right? Hence why when Obi-Wan gets onto the Death Star, Darth Vader's like, I sense a presence that I haven't felt since Swirly Cape Walk Away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
but you're omitting,
tweet.
you're
That's Darth
omitting the
Vader's
one
vague
time
tweet.
that they actually did, in canon, on film, show that they could sense each other from across the galaxy.
Where?
When?
When Anakin Skywalker goes and murders the village, it immediately cuts to a scene of Yoda like staring off into space, feeling sad, and gets this resolute face where he knew that Anakin had just done some terrible shit. And
Okay.
so that right there is point one that they absolutely can see each other. And I still contend
that Yoda didn't know what he did. I contend that Yoda didn't know what he did or something.
I'm
He
not
just
saying
sensed his shit was going wrong.
I'm not saying that they have the ability to fucking strap into their GoPro and see exactly what they're doing, but they do have the ability to sense each other, and they do have the ability to sense their current state.
Okay.
Here's the thing, again, getting back to making films, what neither of you guys have said. In that particular scene, Yoda does not hear or sense Anakin. Yoda hears Yoda hears Qui-Gon Jinn go, Anakin, no. Because Qui-Gon is a fucking Force ghost at that point. Yoda doesn't see or hear anything at all. So no, Yoda is not reaching out across the fucking galaxy to figure out what. No, he's not.
Because
this is called filmmaking.
The reason why the Jedi could feel the Alderaan getting blown up is because, like you're saying, millions of people died all at once. Anakin did not kill millions of fucking Tusken Raiders. He killed like maybe 30.
But he also, like, why have Qui-Gon in that scene then? Why have Qui-Gon's voice in the scene if that is not to connect that particular thought?
Because Qui-Gon, and actually they do explain this in Clone Wars. By this point, Qui-Gon has figured out half of how to become a Force ghost, right? Insofar as he can look down at shit and see what's going on, and he's actually just learning how to basically communicate back. They do explain that in Clone Wars, because Yoda goes on his giant walkabout and goes to visit Qui-Gon, which is also the throwaway line they have at the end of Revenge of the Sith, when Yoda is talking to Obi-Wan and he's like, someone to teach you I still have. And it's like, you will communicate with Qui-Gon, right? Because Yoda's figured out how to commune with Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon's teaching them all how to become Force ghosts.
And that all has to do with familiarity.
No, it actually has nothing to do with familiarity based on how they become Force ghosts. Because once they become Force ghosts, it's who they choose to talk to.
they just jump back in.
We're still, at this point, we are still debating old canon versus new.
And I'm saying, I'm not debating old canon anymore. I'm saying, no, in Revenge of the Sith, in Clone Wars, which is in the new canon, This is what they're saying. It has nothing to do with Qui-Gon saying, like, Qui-Gon's familiarity has nothing to do with his ability to become a Force Ghost, nor does it Obi-Wan's. It all has to do with, do I fucking learn how to do it? And you still haven't shown how Ahsoka broke it.
Yeah,
we're getting to that because we keep getting off on fucking dumbass tangents.
All right, go ahead. What's your next point? Because your first point was...
First point was completely
inane.
valid and accurate.
Inane.
Hang on, I'm checking my notes.
We're going to have to put a poll in chat later.
I mean, we all know how that's gonna go because like 3/4 of the chat was like, "Oh man, Ahsoka, she's my bae." I mean, this is a rigged argument for me anyway, so I'm just doing it for fun and because I hate the character.
Go ahead.
Notes. Okay, so part of this is just one of the ways she has broken the storyline. In none of the films, I'm talking episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We have to take this slightly aside from the canon that has the episodes in it as well, or the Clone Wars TV show. We have to take it kind of aside because when those films were created,
Okay.
The Clone Wars didn't exist, the TV show. At no point in any of those films did it ever reference the fact that Anakin had a Padawan. Not once.
Nor did it reference the fact that R2-D2 met Yoda.
And I mean, whatever.
And Obi-Wan to begin with.
I also.
I'm saying, like,
that's a different plot hole. We're not talking about that.
I'm just saying,
Fair.
if you're gonna use that as your logic, right? Like, the fact of the matter is like, nowhere in the things did it ever be like,
Yes,
when,
but
after Luke came back to get them to Cloud
R2-D2
City, Chewie was like, "Hey, bitch, where were you?" And he was like, "I was training this little green Jedi guy." And Chewie wasn't like, "Oh, you mean like Yoda?" And he's like, "Hey, you know Yoda?" Like, I'm doing that, the guy from Ant-Man, right?
But
It never references that shit.
We're talking about the scale of things here.
I'm talking about the fact that you went to go train with a short, pointy-eared green Jedi, and that never came up.
The fact that Chewie and some of the other characters did not have little, relatively minor things, because whether or not Chewie had known Yoda has no bearing on the story. Like, for all we know, they talked about it afterwards.
Anakin having a Padawan who left the Jedi Order has no bearing on what happens in Revenge of the Sith.
Yes, it does. It has everything to do with it, because you were telling me that Ahsoka Tano is the one character that is the most powerful and ties everything together.
Right,
but they couldn't even drop a single reference to him having
They
they wouldn't even have to drop a name.
They don't
could've
need
just said,
to.
Yes, they
don't.
do.
No, they don't. Because here's the thing. She still maintains that surrogate viewer point. Because, again, she learns in fairly short order, in the galactic scheme of things, that Anakin became Darth Vader. And she confronts him about it. Right? And actually, he confronts her very specifically because of that. Because if you look at Revenge of the Sith, the story of Revenge of the Sith is super contained. Like, in Star Wars terms, it takes place in the course of, like, just a couple weeks. Right? Mm-hmm. It's not a long story. It's rescue the fucking Chancellor. Everybody splits apart because, splitting the party, that's always a good idea, right? Obi-Wan wanders off to Utapau, right? Anakin wanders off this way. Everybody goes their separate freaking ways, and that's how the Emperor's able to rip everybody to pieces, right? Yoda goes off to the Wookiees. Order 66 happens because they're not together, right? Anakin can't become a master, yada, 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 yada.
But
right?
you don't think...
There's nothing in there that says, oh, hey, we should also mention that Anakin had an apprentice. It makes no difference.
Yes, because the only reason why she's the most important character is because they made her the most important character. Because before that happened,
I didn't say she was the most important character. I said she tied everything together.
You would think that a character that was as important
Are we really
going to
get mad about retconning things? They would have
said something about him at any point. They could even just said, "Oh, he had a Padawan" at one point. Like, they could have just thrown it in as a toss away comment, but they did not, because the original intent was Darth Vader / Anakin did not have an apprentice.
How do you figure?
Because he went to the dark side pretty much immediately.
No, because again, if we're going off of there is a significant gap. And even George said this. There's a significant gap between episodes 2 and 3. And one of the story failings, and this actually goes back to what we were talking about before the break. What you can do with TV that's hard to do in film, right? He's trying to keep these a manageable length. So you've got a 5-year-ish gap between 2 and 3, and who the hell knows what happens?
Throwing in a 10-second line would have made it unmanageable.
And again,
Did the Clone Wars TV show exist when Revenge of the Sith was being made?
No.
Oh, okay.
It
So
came years later. That's why I'm saying she broke the fucking canon. Because the original canon...
She didn't break the canon because,
yes,
again,
she did. She broke it because the original...
it is a necessary thing for us to know. Again,
it was necessary.
That they have to reference her in Revenge of the Sith.
Yes, because did someone make a noise? Sounded like someone made a beer popping noise.
That was me.
Okay.
Why? Because I had to get another one.
Okay.
he about to
I thought that was a
can.
sarcastic popping noise. If she's as important as everyone says she is, she should have merited at least a toss-away mention. The original canon as existed was a conflict between the Skywalker clan. Pure and simple.
The Skywalker clan, at the point of Revenge of the Sith, consists of one person.
Yes. And what he does to the galaxy.
Right. But
Him
having an apprentice is not like a game breaker for that plot line. You're right on that front.
I would like to add an additional argument, though, that it wasn't even actually Darth Vader that did all the work. It was Chancellor Palpatine.
Darth Vader did some work too.
He killed some kids.
Yeah,
that was think about it. That was his work in fucking. This is my problem with Revenge of the
Kids, and then all the remaining Jedi that escaped from Order 66.
No, because we never see it. It's not part canon. That's the thing. This is my problem with Revenge of the Sith. Is you see him kill some kids and then get his ass beat. Darth Vader, who's supposed to be the biggest, blackest motherfucker in the galaxy, got his ass handed to him because of some fucking high ground after he kills some defenseless kids. Okay? Don't make me quote Chasing Amy with the best scene in goddamn film when I yelled gentrification.
I actually just watched that movie. I went through the whole View Askew universe recently.
Oh, it's fantastic. But so that's the problem.
Data analysis. It was great in my background.
That's the problem with that particular piece of it is like Anakin didn't actually do anything. It was Palpatine that did all of it. Sidious.
There's a lot implied between the scenes, but implication is not enough to form a basis of fact. You would have to dive into the old EU to get into that because it does cover it in the old EU.
We have to.
We don't have to because
we do. The old EU doesn't exist anymore.
No,
as much as I love the fact that Boba Fett was the Mandalore, it doesn't exist anymore.
Your supposition is if someone comes in and breaks the canon, you just have to accept it as fact. So if a new showrunner showed up and said, "Hey, all of this was resolved by Doctor Who," then we just have to fucking accept it.
Oh, yes, hold on a second. Yeah, you do, because that's how fucking Doctor Who works.
Hang on. When George says, this is pre-acquisition of Disney, when George says, nothing is canon but what I build here. That's the movies, the TV shows, that's it. That's when they make the decision to do the transition to Legends, right? Mm-hmm. And this is also during the same time period where they're working on the deal for the acquisition of Disney, because Lord knows, and I'm sure Mallo knows, that deal didn't happen in a day,
and
right?
We all know George Lucas makes super sound decisions, and
I'm not saying mistakes. He did. But what I'm saying is if you're going to say she broke the canon, you have to establish what the canon is.
She did break the canon.
And she did not break Legends.
The canon, this is probably just going to come down to a difference of definition for you and I. For me, having been an old school Star Wars fan, the canon was episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those were the movies that existed. Everything else was supposed to be in addition to. But then they go and take Clone Wars and turn the whole entire fucking Clone Wars into the fucking biggest plot black hole that ever existed.
So I think your primary issue is not with Ahsoka. Your primary issue is when they said, we're making Clone Wars.
Yes, I have a giant issue with the entirety of the Clone Wars cartoon.
And hang on. we're making Clone Wars, and we don't care if this concept was built in one of the EU books, comic books, etc. That doesn't matter to how we're going to write this show. That's your primary issue.
I don't like the entire Clone Wars TV show. I think it broke the canon in its own right, but we're not talking about that. And I've saved.
The problem is this,
I have saved some of the most damning evidence for her being a black hole Sue.
All right, let's move past the canon thing because we can do this circle for like a year and a half.
There's one more, and I saved this one for last because I know you and Mallo both believe that this is fucking bullshit because you guys have bitched about it in other shows. So if you say it's not, I'm calling you a goddamn hypocrite. She has the biggest set of plot armor shields I have ever seen of any character that in existence. And I will say that because, and I'm not even talking about all the times that she gets away with stuff that Anakin did the same thing and did not get away with, but we'll come back to that one. The most damning piece of broken ass evidence is they had to save her ass by time travel.
Okay.
What episode was that? Because I haven't seen that episode.
Rebels.
Oh, okay.
Rebels.
I haven't made that far in Rebels then.
World Between Worlds.
Oh, okay.
That was close to the tail end of the Rebels series.
And
Gotcha.
it circles back to the whole bullshit. She didn't know Anakin was still around because she found out Anakin was still alive, and then time traveled back in time, and then just did not do anything about it.
She didn't time travel back in time.
She did.
She went back to the moment where she was fighting Vader on that fucking Sith planet, but she didn't go back.
She didn't have to go back. She didn't do anything.
And again, now here's the thing. I'll give you
Rebels takes place between 3 and 4, right?
Yes.
Correct. So there was still, I'm not sure, because that's an 18-year gap between 3 and 4.
Yep.
I don't know I'll admit I do not know exactly when Rebels takes place in that timeline.
It starts out 12 years because it starts out on Ezra's birthday. Ezra was born on Empire Day, which is the Declaration of the Empire, and he's 12 or 13 when the story starts.
At the very least, she knew that Anakin was Darth Vader from that point forward and did nothing about it.
But she learns it about 3 seasons in. So about 15 years after he became Vader is when she found out.
Right? Oh, so after he's completely, because again, I haven't watched all of the episodes. So this is 15 years after he's established dominance, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So from when he becomes Vader and is put in the suit, right?
Sorry. No. Worst fucking thing ever.
Yeah.
I'm getting you one of those little buttons you can push that does that.
About 15 years after he dons the suit is when she runs into him again, right? She's aware of the existence of someone named Darth Vader, but she does not know that it is Anakin Skywalker. Because again,
as soon as she got teleported back in time.
But that was before. She figured it out before she was teleported. Because what happens is she runs into Vader when they're on the Ghost, right? And she's like, oh, fuck. Then the next season is when Ezra, Kanan, and her go to the Sith planet and are confronted by Maul. Right? And if you want to talk about who broke fucking shit, Maul.
Speaking of plot holes like a motherfucker.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Maul broke everything.
Ahsoka is definitely not the only sin that has happened in that series. We're not talking about all the other sins.
Maul is a far greater sin. But let's just say what happened.
If we want to have another episode where we talk about all the sins, we can do that, but it's going to be like a 3-day long episode.
Two Imperial Inquisitors show up and get fucked up because 2 Imperial Inquisitors can't stand up to Kanan, Ezra, Ahsoka, and Maul. Then, because they get fucked up, they call for help. And like when they basically send a sit rep as to who's there, Vader's like, oh, you're here now. Time to go. And so Vader goes down to the Sith Temple to confront them. Ahsoka basically force pushes Kanan and Ezra onto ship and says, get the fuck out of here, I'll deal with him. They have their fight, and then they split after, like, it basically fight to a stalemate, and she goes down to the Sith Temple. Now, at that point, we don't know what happened. Somewhere in there, she found the fucking force portal that went into the world beyond worlds, and that's a whole other fucking thing. She does have some plot armor, I will give you
She
that.
teleports back in time.
She doesn't teleport back in time. She goes, first off, she goes into the world between worlds and just sits there. Like Yoda on Dagobah meditating style. Ezra's the one that pulls her out, and then she goes back in to go back to the temple. And again, it's actually not super clear. And again, a point I will say, it's not super clear how she comes out. We do know she comes out at some point and goes forward in time, because the last thing we see of Ahsoka before her appearance in The Mandalorian is in the epilogue at the end of Rebels. Sabine's talking about the fact that she stayed on Ezra's homeworld to take care of it while he was missing. And then Ahsoka shows up, and Sabine's like, okay, we're going to go find Ezra. Hence how, again, if you want to know what's going on in Mandalorian, the last time anybody had seen Thrawn was Ezra fucking used hyperspace whales, okay, to hyperspace him and Thrawn away from his homeworld and disappeared, right? And no one knew where the fuck they went.
I just want to take a brief aside.
Go ahead.
Tip. We've all collectively agreed those times don't exist. We've all
You talking about the Ewok movies?
Yeah, it's like in the 90s when everyone was really into zoot suits for like a year. We just all agreed that didn't happen.
I'm sorry, they're
I
no
still
longer
love cherry.
they're no longer cool. Shit.
I still like cherry
your
poppin'
dad
daddies
flavor.
and squirrel nut zipper. Who remembers squirrel nut zipper?
I still have the record.
Great. Anyway, I'll give you, she's got plot armor. She's the one who's got
plot armor to the point where it doesn't make sense, because Anakin, no, once again, these are not one-to-one comparison scenarios, but there's a current running trend that like literally every time Anakin gets snippy and snarky about something bad happens to him. Like he loses. This is in the Clone Wars show. He gets his arm chopped off, and Padme comes and scolds him. Every time she does it, something good has happened, even to the point where she defies literally everyone and goes down to Mandalore after a holier-than-thou fucking dialogue as like a 15, 16-year-old at that point. She does the teenager thing where everyone around her is impossibly stupid and she's the only one that really sees it. She goes down against orders and is just... Filoni's just like, yeah, she's awesome. She goes down there and solves the whole thing. But anytime Anakin so much as gets mad because someone cut the crust off a sandwich and he didn't ask for it, he stubs his toe. The whole fucking show.
That's because the Force hates him.
Is like that.
The Force knows.
Not the whole show. So,
if that was the whole show, that'd be fantastic. It's just a whole show of just like
first off,
flubs.
I love all the different focuses they do on Obi-Wan and Clone Wars, but we're getting a feel to get. Okay, yeah, she's got a little bit of plot armor. So do half the Star Wars characters out there.
Massive.
So does Han Solo.
I'm making a concession here. The only person in Star Wars canon right now that has bigger plot armor than her is Boba Fett.
Nope.
Because his ass went into the fucking Sarlacc.
Nope. I got one better.
Yeah.
Fucking Princess Leia uses Force to goddamn Mary Poppins her ass back onto the ship. Which, mind you, I didn't want to really see Carrie Fisher die, so I'm cool with that part. I can believe him getting out of a Sarlacc with a fucking gun, and now that I know what the fucking armor looks like is shit like that, like fuck, I can believe he got out.
So this is something
and hopefully episode 1 of the Boba Fett book, they just explain that whole thing so we can just be done with it.
Here's the thing. We'll go back to canon. He did it in the old canon. He did it in the new canon. One of the things they're doing with the new canon that they've been consistently doing is they're periodically bringing back in characters for fan service. They're trying to make some of the fans happy, and they're also good characters. Like one of the first ones they brought in from the old EU was Thrawn. Right? They were like, look, here's Thrawn, everybody. Look, Thrawn's alive. Yay. Thrawn's in the new canon. So now we've got Thrawn back. And actually, I think Zahn's work with Thrawn now is better than the old stuff.
I haven't read the new stuff. I've steadfastly refused after the wand chooses the wizard Harry in the Ahsoka book, as a matter of fact.
So the new Thrawn was written by Timothy Zahn, so I would understand your point if it wasn't them. They got Zahn to come back and do it again.
I'm still angry about the old EU on them because his original work was amazing. They should just use that as
the new stuff is better.
But
it's so much better.
I'm glad that you brought up the fan service thing because my whole point is Ahsoka. Now, let me set the stage here. If Ahsoka had existed in a vacuum outside of the whole main storyline, I would agree. She's a pretty cool character. It's in reference to everything else that she becomes a shit-ass character, because she is the literal definition of fan service. Her entire existence and plot armor and everything else has to do with Filoni's boner for her and fan service. That is the only reason why she exists.
That's partially true, but that's because the fans like her because she's a complex character that evolved.
Not a complex character.
No, she started out as an annoying, headstrong, brash person who became somebody who, again, believably, if you watch through the whole Clone Wars series, became someone who saw the hypocrisy of the Jedi Order before Anakin did, before Obi-Wan did, right? Because they were so steeped in it and everything else that they couldn't see it. They couldn't see the forest through the trees. She finally, and it wasn't even, and this is actually where I'll say not plot armory, but actually makes sense. The reason she was finally able to see the forest through the trees is because the Jedi Order was about to, like, hand her over for execution for something she didn't do because they were a bunch of arrogant pricks. And she was like, no, you don't get to just come back from that, right? Well, and the whole concept in Rebels, when they finally find Ahsoka and Kanan's like, look, dude, I was a Padawan when I left the Order because of Order 66. You need to train Ezra. And she's like, no, I'm a fucking... I don't consider myself a Jedi anymore, so I'm not teaching Jedi way because I don't believe in it. And it's a counterbalance to Kanan, who still in his mind has drank the Jedi Kool-Aid, right? She's the counterbalance to that. No, Kanan, that's not how this works. We're not going to do it this way. And I'll help you, but here's the thing. It's not great. Right? And again, they touch on it again in The Mandalorian when she's explaining to Din Djarin, look, dude, I saw the best of us. The best Jedi I had ever met. Anakin Skywalker, she didn't use the name, but you know who she's referring to. He fell to the dark side. Okay? These things are dangerous. You have to be fucking careful. Right? Like, and she still won't take Grogu. Because she's always haunted by the fact that her master, the person who spent all his time training her, became that guy. And that level of understanding of where you came from and why you don't have any business training anyone else or dealing with this stuff, and why you're just here to try to do the best you can, is good writing.
I want to see
period of time.
I want to see something. You got to go for the long play, right? Like, you need to be able to sell. If you're going to tell complex stories with characters, you have to go for the long play. You can't do it in the interim because it feels cheap. But I kind of want to see, because we get a full on Rosario Dawson Ahsoka series coming up sometime in the future, right? All of the things we talked about before the break could set that back if possible. But
I think they casted Ezra too.
I think they've casted a few people. But so one of the things that I would love to actually kind of see in part of that series, I know that they're going with the Thrawn thing, but what I want to know,
they casted him and Thrawn.
Well, but what I want to see both in the Obi-Wan series too, because that's coming, and in the Ahsoka series is flashbacks to where, you know, it's very obvious that, like, you know, for the things that we were talking about, right? That Darth Vader hunted down all the rest of them and stuff like that. Like, fuck it. Have a couple of those things where, like, Ahsoka might be confronted by Darth again. Let's just have it. Like, build that whole thing post, you know, kind of thing with it, right? Because otherwise you got to give some credence to the character of the arc and stuff like that.
And honestly, they should, to round out the character a little bit more.
Plus, I think it would just be kind of funny just to be like having Ahsoka talking with another Jedi, and then just all of a sudden Darth Vader, like, just puts a fucking blade through the other Jedi.
I don't think we're going to get another confrontation with Darth, because I think the one that happened in Rebels, you might see a live screen adaptation of that confrontation,
perhaps,
like in flashback, which I think would be a cool move, even if it's not the whole thing. Because that's a pretty long confrontation, and it would eat up a lot of episode. So I'd like to see that in flashback. That'd be fun. I don't think she needs to confront Darth again, but I think that she does need to
Give herself a reason for existence.
No, no, I think she's done fine with that. I think that showing that next pace. Here's where I get frustrated, and I don't know what Filoni and crew are gonna do. Abrams and Johnson painted them into a corner.
Wow, that's a whole other topic. That's just fucking garbage.
That whole
And
series
so-
needs to be fired into the sun and restarted.
Well, we might be able to, because apparently we have time travel. Maybe someone can fucking time travel. Now, if she time travels into the past and undoes the 7, 8, 9, then she'll become my favorite character.
I'm sure they've got a talented crew of writers on it. I'm sure they'll figure something out. I just don't know what it is. And so I'm curious how they're going to get themselves out of the corner they kind of got painted into in the long term. Now, they've got time, too.
Yeah.
Because they can do a lot of interim shows like Ahsoka. Like Ahsoka's going to take place firmly in a time, 15 years before 7. So you've got time to burn in world.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the Ahsoka show.
I am too.
Like I said, in a vacuum, outside of all the other stuff, Ahsoka is an okay character. I still wouldn't rate her much better.
You know
than
what? Hang on.
But
I would like to
better
point
than
out to the.
okay.
Hang on. I would like to point out to the chat. I've had this argument with Joe more than once. More than once. That is the first time I have ever heard him say those
Technically
words.
not the first time, because I just said it like 5 minutes ago.
I'm just saying, this stream is the first time where he's been like, you know what? Aside from these issues that I've really actually got with the storyline and how they've constructed it in canon, Ahsoka in a vac is a pretty okay character. So I'm gonna take that as a win.
I fucking hate young Ahsoka. Like, how deep?
You can be annoyed by
how
young
did you-
Ahsoka all you want.
How deep did you get into the old EU books?
Oh, all of them. I
Did
literally
you-
read all of them.
You did the what the fuck is her name? You got through the second Civil War, Jason Solo.
Yes.
Okay.
Jaina Solo.
Remember Tahiri?
Yes.
She was basically what Ahsoka really kind of should have been.
Okay, I can see where you're going. The difference is, and this was something with the old EU. Tahiri went through things that Ahsoka was never just has never been through. Like the amount of trauma they piled on Tahiri was
Oh, would you agree that
fucking insane.
She's a similar analog to what Ahsoka ended up being, because she was kind of doing the apprentice thing with Jason Solo. I know they had like a romantic thing going on, but
Well, no, she had a romantic thing with Anakin. That was the big thing, and that was the first piece of trauma.
And then she did the dark side apprenticeship with Jason.
After it was that trauma that caused her to apprentice under Jason, when Jason was like, I can show you Anakin again, and he did fucking force time travel, right? With Tahiri, so she could see Anakin.
One of the chief problems, and this is, I'm aware that this is a personal preference to a large extent, but when Star Wars was originally envisioned, we're talking back in the 70s when they were making the original movies, it was intended to be kind of a dark and gritty story. That's why
I would disagree with that. It was Flash Gordon.
George Lucas has stated the reason why they did the props the way they did was so everything looked dark and gritty, as if hope had been extinguished in the galaxy. Star Wars, from the beginning.
Yeah.
Star Wars from the beginning.
You were talking about it from like a filmmaking perspective. I'm like, no.
The story was intended to be a dark story about tragedy and loss and suffering that is felt. Mostly, this is focused mostly on the Skywalker clan, but it's heavily implied that the whole galaxy is suffering. Part of my problem with the Ahsoka stuff, and by extension the Clone Wars, is that whenever they started making this for children, They turned Star Wars from a dark, gritty, horrible mess into a children's fucking Saturday morning television show where you learn a morality lesson.
You can argue that about the way they produced the Clone Wars show, but Star Wars was always for kids. Always. From 1977 forward. It was always, whether they were showing the darker future after the Empire had taken over, it was always for kids. It's a serial. That's what it was. It was a fucking sci-fi serial mixed with Kurosawa.
But it was dark.
No, it wasn't.
And
It was never dark.
The bad guys lose at the end. All right, if you take everything out of context, if you just look at episode 4, when George didn't know if he was ever going to get to make another movie, how did that movie end? Death Star blown up, heroes get medals.
How did the previous movie end?
There was no previous movie at that point.
There was none. It wasn't even called episode 4.
Oh, you're they're talking about the Jedi. Okay.
No, I'm talking about episode 4. Take that in a vacuum, because again, it wasn't even called episode 4. It didn't get retitled until 79.
And I will argue that the people who watch Star Wars have agreed pretty unanimously that the darker storylines are what people wanted out of Star Wars, because the movies that did the best were always the ones where it was the darkest. Empire Strikes Back is widely considered by just about everyone to be the best of the Star Wars movies.
And here's the thing.
I would say it's
first off, Empire was considered that at the time because George didn't write it.
Yeah.
Okay? Literally, George didn't write it.
I'm aware of that.
He wrote the storyline, but he didn't write that fucking movie. Okay? Because George can't write dialogue. I love George, but he's a phenomenal filmmaker and an amazing technical fucking genius, but he can't write fucking dialogue to save his life. Okay?
Episode 4 is a Western.
Episode 4 is a Western.
It is a Western.
It's a Western.
I know.
It's a Western serial based on the Kurosawa film.
It just cracks me up whenever that gets brought up, because yes, it absolutely is.
He was goofing off, okay? He had to make something big. He had made THX 1138. He had made American Graffiti, which had done really well. But he loved sci-fi and wanted to make a sci-fi romp. It wasn't supposed to go anywhere, right? And here's the thing about the fan base, and this is something that I say as both a fan and as a writer. It's something that over the last 6 years I have learned. The fans don't know what the fuck they want. They just don't, okay? They really don't. They can say, well, this is the type of Star Wars we wanted.
And then we end up with characters like Ahsoka because they can do fan service. And we all know what fan service does. Just look at what fucking PvP was like in World of Warcraft.
Okay?
Ahsoka is PvP Warcraft.
Okay? That makes zero sense.
Fan service.
Okay? The point is, the fans don't know what they want. Okay? They really don't, right? You can look at 7, 8, and 9. And that was the problem with 7, 8, and 9. The problem was that they were more concerned about what they perceived the fans wanted than just telling a fucking story.
They made a fucking camel by committee is what they did. Because they were trying
to give the fans what they wanted.
Please everyone, and it doesn't that doesn't work. And yes, you are right. The fans collectively do not know what they want. But that's mainly because there's a lot of different opinions in fandom. And
that's what I'm saying. Like, you cannot look at this and go, like, there's obvious fan service, but fan service is not necessarily a bad thing. Fan service is actually
almost universally been a bad thing.
On the contrary, it goes back to my theory. I can fix episode 8 in fucking 3 scenes, and then everybody walks out of that movie fucking happy.
That doesn't mean fan service is...
All involves fan service. All you do is you get rid of Benicio del Toro's character, and when they go to that fucking gambling planet in episode 8, they're going to go find Lando. That change right there takes that entire sequence that everybody fucking hates and everything is garbage.
You know why they didn't do that?
They didn't do it because Rian Johnson, as much as I actually like him as a filmmaker, should never have been put in charge of a fucking Star Wars movie.
They didn't do it because they thought it would be a little too tongue-in-cheek to find Lando at a gambling.
And they should have fucking done it anyway.
Speaking of fan service.
I agree.
Okay? They should have fucking done it, but Rian Johnson is a fucking contrary fucking dude. Okay? I, again, love his films, actually. I think he's a phenomenal filmmaker. I just think that he had no business doing what he was doing.
Well, I mean, I did not mind 8, but I will just
didn't either.
I'll go on the record again in this version of the podcast, like I did in the previous version of the podcast, and say that J.J. Abrams is an overpaid hack of a director and writer, because all he fucking does is just make remakes.
And here's the thing. Their biggest mistake, and JJ said
That's
it
my salt
recently
for
in
the
an
night.
interview, they had no plan going into those 3 movies. None. Right? But look what happens when they hand it to somebody who knows how to build a plan. Right? This is why The Mandalorian is so good. Right? Who did they go to? Who's the showrunner? It's the guy who started the MCU. They went to Favreau and they said, do what you will. Right? The reason Feige works so well and the reason DC doesn't is because Feige literally goes, here's your box. Don't do anything crazy out here, but anywhere in here, I don't give a fuck what you do. Just go make a good movie. That's all Feige does, right? And now they've learned to do that with Star Wars, and now they're getting better product.
Right
Like
on.
I said, I am interested to see what they're going to do with the Obi-Wan and the Ahsoka show. I didn't particularly care for the plot and the portrayal of Ahsoka in The Mandalorian. I thought we've talked about this in previous streams. I think there were a lot of technical issues there that they really should have worked through. Rosario Dawson is an amazing actor. I just don't think she's really suited to the active combative type role.
I think she needs about 5 or 6 more months of training.
I think they need to just use a stand-in.
No, actually, Rosario Dawson is been training in professional wrestling because she works with Cody Rhodes, who runs the Nightmare Factory, who feeds AEW all their amazing young talent.
Is she still dating Cory Booker?
No fucking clue. Probably, because yeah, cool. But yeah, so like she's been training and doing other things like that because they also have the TBS show, that reality-ish kind of game show that they do with it too. So I feel like once they get around to the Ahsoka show and stuff like that, that she may have been able to do as much training as like, because like in Revenge of the Sith, that lightsaber fight between Hayden Christensen and Obi-Wan basically was amazing. It was probably one of the best lightsaber fights ever. So they can get you there. It just takes training, which they probably didn't have going into Mandalorian.
There's also something to be said for like technical issues, because like if you ever noticed in the, you know, which I'm sure you have in episode 4, Vader is very stiff when he's fighting, and it all came down to the fact that his costume sucked.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that there might have been some costume or wardrobe issues, because she was wearing quite a bit of clothes in that, and that could make it pretty difficult to run around, especially on like uneven terrain and stuff. But I feel like I really feel like they would do better with her if they just do a stand-in for.
I would say that's probably, again, whether they do a stand-in or a lot of training. I agree with you. I was a little underwhelmed by that lightsaber fight. I think that, and again, the whole point in Rebels that that kind of Dave Filoni explains later, but that it makes sense is this: if Anakin is this great swordsman, right? Ahsoka was trained by Anakin, right? Now she uses that different form style where she does the reverse grip with the 2 different length-bladed lightsabers.
Really
But
cool.
she was still trained by one of the greatest swordsmen the Jedi had ever seen. And so...
Until Luke.
No, she's better than Luke. Luke's a crappy swordsman.
I disagree.
Luke uses a light bat.
All right,
Disagree.
get Sebastian Stan in there.
No, and here's the thing. Sebastian Stan aside, Luke had no lightsaber training. He trained for like an hour. Yoda didn't give
that's
any.
stated to be months in actual
No, what?
time.
He trained with Obi-Wan for like an hour and a half.
Because it was
Okay.
a montage.
Yeah, and then he trained with Yoda, and then he
For
went
like
into
an hour.
They went into seclusion on Dagobah or not Dagobah, Tatooine for
Yeah,
years.
and again, in the old EU, the problem is we don't have those.
Well, that's not even in the
references
old
in-
EU. That's stated. Like
That's
the time.
not new canon anymore.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
Because that was in the movies.
Shadows of the Empire never happened.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about Shadows of the Empire. I'm talking about just the time gap between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It's been at least 2 years, if not more like 5.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and read through that one. I actually really enjoyed Shadows of the Empire book and the game.
I did too.
That game was pretty decent too.
Which I'm still a little salty they actually killed off Dasher and Dar.
Yeah.
I loved the old EU, but the thing that I understood early when Disney made the acquisition, they said, we're making more movies. I said, great. I want more Star Wars movies. But the old EU was out of fucking control.
Yeah, it's like D&D 5e.
No, I
plot holes everywhere.
know 100% that the Darksaber trilogy existed.
Okay. And then the Yuuzhan Vong went on about 10 books too long.
Yes, I will agree with that one.
The X-Wing books were the best things that came out of that. I'm really hoping when we get the Rogue Squadron, I think it's a movie, that it's something along those lines. Because that's coming too.
But they can't include some of the people that made that a truly memorable series.
Which comment did I dodge?
Nothing. That's a debate for a different time because we're running up on time.
Oh, we are running up on time.
So we're gonna leave it on the positive note that both of these boys are looking forward to new Star Wars in the future. There is some good stuff coming.
Even 7, 8, and 9, barring all their issues in the plot,
I thought they were
visually amazing.
Visually, they were amazing. Yes.
They showed that Star Wars can be a top tier movie in the time frame.
Yep.
Just they have writing problems.
Lots of writing problems. But you know what?
If you good stuff coming.
You know what though? If you want to fix your writing problems, just come to my stream. Just hit me up on Twitter. I'm at the Mallo Man. I write a lot. I write a lot of good stuff too. And I'm happy to fix all the problems in Star Wars. Easy. Alex, where can they find you on the social? Man.
I am at Alex the Humanoid pretty much everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere.
Yep.
All the places. I'm yelling about Dune on TikTok, right? Not Dune, Foundation on TikTok right now.
Oh, you can bet we're going to have a salt fest if Dune sucks. But I've heard initial releases in Europe, it's quite good.
Yeah, Foundation, sorry, I meant to say Foundation. I've been watching the Foundation show. I'm yelling about that on TikTok if you'd like to see my impressions there.
There you go. Joe, you're not on social media really, so...
No, I'm a hermit.
Yeah, so there you go.
Find me on Discord.
You can find him on our Discord, which is linked below if you want to come talk to him more about Star Wars. We will be back next week, probably with another chat show. Then also, we're all probably going to be going and playing some New World. So look for some New World streams this weekend for some very chill, fun action with the cast and others. I will probably be streaming from this account, and then whoever else can join us in. We have some good times on there. It's a lot of fun. And then we will see you again here next week. Look for the latest episode of Chaos Inc. on YouTube coming up on Monday. That is
last two.
That might have been some of the finest. This is by no means against ACS at all, but that might have been some of the finest RP work I've seen on a live stream, hands down. And I watched Critical Role, and I'm saying this. So just tune in. It'll be up on YouTube on Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Otherwise, we'll be back the week after that with a live episode of Chaos Inc. Until then, be one with the Force, and the Force will be with you. We will see you all next week.
This character they've had since the thing.
Yes, exactly.